down the ball, neither going to chase it. That will leave you in a world of hurt, especially if it's in the crease. South Carolina, once again, just maximizing the chances. They see a window, they're taking it. You know, they're opening the window, running right through it, jumping in, and the Saints trying to get back in the score sheet here. They're trying to get a couple shots back-to-back.
And welcome in everyone to the Saints broadcast here. We've got League of Legends action here tonight. My name's Adam or Adam Trolls. Alongside me is Daniel Jobin, as always, my favorite shorter broadcaster than myself. That's the last one I'm going to make all throughout it, but regardless here, we've got ourselves a nice matchup here today. St. Clair versus the York University Lions here. Very curious to see how this one goes out. Two very strong Canadian teams going at it.
Yep. Yeah, the Saints currently, I think, sitting at 4-0, and York going to be sitting at 3-1. So, going to be a very, very strong back and forth. I don't think we're going to see. We've seen the League of Legends team, have a couple easy matches, so to speak, the last couple weeks. But this one definitely ramping up to be a lot closer of a match. Both teams going to be highly contested, and I think they actually recently. I think you were a part of it as well. You were transparent with your vote, though, so we'll get that out of the way. But we did actually get, I believe, the Canadian power rankings for League of Legends. Was it just NECC or was it for just in general?
Just in general, okay. I think. And when we're actually going to pull it up on the screen here. We have St. Clair actually in the 2 slot right now. Of course, these are our initial rankings. This was taken, I think, 2 weeks ago as well, so it's a little bit older. We don't have as much information, but as we see, U of T, they're still sort of the imposing threat. I want to point out that out of the top 5 teams, 4 of them made it to CLOL top 32. That's sort of our most recent thing. Western at 5 is a little bit odd. I put them at 1 just because of their history and everything, but they are a team that still is very threatening. Of course, revealing their roster today as well with a couple of missing pieces, but I think overall the St. Clair roster has looked really strong, and if we just look off of their fall performances, they are favored here, especially in this series, and of course, York dropping a series to U Ottawa, so there is some changes that are due to come from this list, and I'm very curious to see if this game will have any sort of impact on that as well.
I will say a lot of, I know we have the biggest population, a lot of Ontario flavor in that top 10, only Calgary being the one outlier from out of province there. So Ontario, obviously the population has a lot to do with it, but 9 Ontario teams in the top 10, most of them going to be from especially like that Toronto region, Mississauga, and now down Windsor as well. So very strong, a lot of strong teams in that top 10, as you said, especially like a lot of CLOL competitors as well. And I'm curious now that we're going to talk. Let's get into some game stuff here. What do we think? What kind of comp do we expect to see the Saints? I don't think the patch notes have landed quite yet, the last patch, or have they come in just yet?
There is a new patch actually that comes out today. Realistically, though, not a whole lot of changes coming through on that front. I think the major thing that came through is just a little bit of power taken away from Maokai, a little bit of power taken away from Blitzcrank support. That was actually getting a lot more benefit from the buffs than Jungle was. So I think overall there is a lot of things to sort of look back on that will parallel throughout these 2 patches, and I think Syndra's still a very strong champion. I think a lot of leagues now are enabling her if they hadn't enabled her before. Still sort of waiting for that preseason patch to come out, which I believe is the next patch alongside Cassante, which will bring a big change up with all these items changing up. We've talked about it a little bit already. An item that gives you bonus health infinitely with a champion that can also get health infinitely. Probably going to be pretty strong. I mean, still waiting on the adjustments. Sounds like a riot moment for sure there. So very curious to see how all of that rounds out. But overall, I think we're going to see a lot of the same come through. I think we're going to see a more meta-centric comp come through today, though, especially with these 2 teams being very close in rank.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was going to kick on, is that we've seen the Saints definitely willing to try some off-meta stuff, willing to take these swings at, some of these champs that might not necessarily be in the best spot, but with 2 teams this close, especially, I think they only have maybe 2 more games before the playoffs are going to start, and you want to make sure you get that first round bye in the playoffs. You want to make sure you get that higher seed, make things a little bit easier on yourself as you get farther in, so I don't think we're going to see any, wild swings as far as champ pool go. We know Ricky likes, Ricky will be up to some stuff sometimes, but I would suspect we're going to see, something pretty standard coming in from here. And I'm not sure if you have any intel on maybe what York likes to run, or what kind of matchups do you expect that we'll see, or at least how do you think the games might play out based on what we know?
Yeah, so basically this York team that did really well in Proving Grounds, actually, in the Unified Qualifiers there. They made the top cut, which is surprising for them. They were 29th seed going into it. They made sort of a miracle run there, and a lot of that was on the back of Sweet Tangerine. Now it changed to Sweet. Now switching up, though, from playing mid lane up to that top lane now, kind of filling a new role for themselves. They've brought in a new mid laner. They lost one of their star junglers in Wail as well. I believe they've got someone else there now. So it's going to be a little bit of a switch up coming through. Their bot lane has stayed the same, though. I mean, Invent, or I believe it's Logian and Invent there on the bottom side, have been really, really consistent every single season that we've seen them play. It's been 3-4 seasons together with them that they've been very strong. So I'm curious to see what the dynamic is with Sweet moving up to that top side, with Meodrag coming in the mid lane, and with a new jungler there, because a lot of the times teams can be predicated on their top lane performance. And if we look at how St. Clair have built their roster, it's all around Ricky in a sense. They brought in 4 new players around the bottom side, so it's a little bit of a similarity in terms of what we can expect from the top side from St. Clair from past seasons, but the bottom side from York going to be sort of that consistent there.
Yeah, and the way the meta has kind of shifted, we have seen the Saints kind of look away from playing, you know, strong side with Ricky. They're like, we're going to play for the bot side, because at least they know Ricky, even if he's going to get a little bit like gapped out of lane or get like starved of some CS, he's probably going to hold his own. He's probably going to end up at least okay, like a pretty even trade as far as the top side goes. And the bot side has really been the catalyst for a lot of things, especially we've seen the meta changes. We had the AD meta for a long time, playing that front to back lineup. So really curious to see what the Saints are going to get into. I think we are going to throw it to a very, very quick break, though. You know, still getting the lobby set up and everything ready. So all the housekeeping out of the way. We'll just throw it to a quick break here in 1 second, and we'll catch you guys on the other side. York versus St. Clair. Hey, Caillou finding his third. He's going to find 4. Can he find the ace? Only one more to creep up on, and it's Taupe with 30 HP. Caillou trying to find it. Going to spray through the wall here. Sheriff is in hand, and there's a second ace for the
site there. It looks like the control is going to go over to St. Clair.
Yeah, already just starting off. Yeah, welcome back to the stream, by the way. Just getting right into the action here. Of course, this is a map that we've seen St. Clair do really well on hardpoint specifically, so not going to be too surprised with anything that comes through from them. Of course, already wresting control of this game, and only 1 kill, 2 kills now going over to the side of Northeastern, but already you can see the dominance this team is ready to pop down. As you can see, for half of this game, they've been on this hardpoint, absolutely demolishing everything that Northeastern are able to pull through for themselves. Crazy once again back on this point. Actually, they will finally get to double digits. I was worried for a little bit for Northeastern there, but yeah, this is really different.
That was quick. Oh wow, this is the play. You gotta watch. Look at him live. Saints in this defending round. Bendy, how many can he find here? There's one. Second one not gonna be found.
South Carolina, it's been a lot slower offensively for Carolina this game.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you didn't get that.
And welcome back after that very quick intermission. We are going to be getting into the draft. We're going to have, as we said before, St. Clair College taking on York University. St. Clair sitting at 4-0, York at 3-1. St. Clair rated number 2 on the top 10 Canadian League of Legends team so far. York being rated 4th. So a game with a lot on the line. We're going to have to see now. We're finally going to get into the draft. What are they going to decide to go with?
Yeah, it seems like the Cassiopeia ban going to come through early on here. It seems like something that not only they can play mid lane, but they can also flex up to that top lane.
Yeah.
We've seen what Sweet can do on that as well. With Misha playing mid as well here, could be an option for them to flex it around. The Caitlyn going to be taken away. This is a champion that's been banned a lot at Worlds of note, just because of her range advantage, her lane prowess. They just want to take that tool away from the side of St. Clair.
Yeah, we've seen an emergence of the Lux Kate once again, just trying, the bully bot lane, trying to take early advantage here. We are going to see the Jarvan ban coming through as well, so take away some potential gank possibilities for the side of St. Clair. Maybe, try to give Ricky a little bit of an easier time on that top side with that ban.
Yeah, and especially because of the early game prowess that Jarvan has, very often known for the level 2 ganks or something, red top lane or red mid, something like that. It just takes that tool away. The LeBlanc, a Bakery Boy special as well, taking that tool away. Sometimes you've just got to take those really strong champions out. Sometimes you just got to take the pocket picks as well, especially considering LeBlanc, not in the strongest of states, all things considered, but still a very strong champion in the hands of Bakery Boy.
Yeah, I was going to say, anyone that, there's one LeBlanc one trick, so, you watch, okay, this champ still seems to work very well. We are going to see the Fiora ban coming through, so again, another super strong top laner can be a nuisance to deal with, dealing with the parry and side, side laning, split pushing, all that. The rest of it, definitely a solid ban for the side of the Saints, so we are going to see the Aatrox ban coming through, so not super surprising. We've seen him, what has he been picked in 98% of Worlds games and a lot of solo queue matches, so nothing too surprising as far as that goes as well.
It's incredibly strong, and especially when you're giving away that you're banning away that Fiora. Fiora is the number 1 Aatrox counter in a lot of ways, so you sort of want to take that tool away. But Renekton actually going to be first picked here. This is incredibly early on, and there's some league analysts who would say that Renekton first pick, not really the play, looking at one Korean LS there. But of course, it is an interesting angle for Ricky. We've seen this Renekton do quite well in the past, but the Aphelios is the answer. You're giving over one of the best 80 carries right now, and especially considering it's Logia on the bottom side of the map, this is someone who's super, super confident in their Aphelios gameplay.
Have we seen Ricky play Renekton in the season yet?
Do not think so.
Should I call it the Rick Renekton, or is that too far?
I think from last season we could call it that. This season not so much. I mean, Renekton did go under a couple of changes. It is definitely stronger than the last time we saw it come through. But the Victor coming through, this is no surprise. Just very, very safe mid laner. Yeah,
just nice. I think one of the control mages just able to farm kind of safely, stay back, use the slow area. Definitely very solid all-around mid laner, going to give you a lot of utility that way. Going to see the Kog'Maw come through, so this is a little bit of a curveball that we thought we weren't going to see anything crazy, but already we're seeing a little bit different than what we thought.
Yeah, and especially because it's very likely going to get paired up with that Lulu. It's a really strong late game lane, but especially in the early game, you're going to struggle against a lot of the potential supports that can come through. Kog Lulu, sort of known as like the ultimate abusers of Ardent Sensor when that was the meta in Season 7, Season 8, and around there. Not as common now, but still a very strong lane in the right hands. But of course, when you look at an early game support like a Mumu who can go in at level 2, makes that lane a little bit harder to pilot. I'm curious to see how this bot lane is going to play out between Rockboom and Rafa, as well as the very experienced Logia and Invent.
Yeah, we've been seeing the rise of Mumu. Once you get that second Q charge, it's such a menace to say support, get roaming early game, and once you get that level 6, that R can just do so much control, especially now team fights meaning as much as they do. It's such a good ultimate to have, especially later on in the game there. We are going to see the Silas ban coming through for York, so again, another just super solid mid laner, plays well into a ton of different matchups, so not really anything too surprising on that end as far as things go.
And I mean, you're taking away the option for them to steal the Mumu ult for themselves. It's always super strong. I mean, the rise of the Mumu support led to the rise of Silas support coming through as sort of the ultimate counter. And even then, with just Silas being such a strong mid laner with the healing cut changes, you have to consider that as an option at all times. Maokai did just recently get nerfed, but still an incredibly strong champion, How badly? Not that bad, especially when you can just throw all those saplings everywhere to get so much vision control. Still really strong top lane. We saw Odo Omne bring that out, so they're taking away a tool for this top laner to sort of survive. The Ivern, sort of a pocket pick away from Alonso as well. We saw it once. It performed really well, surprisingly so, but especially in this game, they just want to take away that agency as Orin, that last sort of ban away, takes away some of that late game scaling potential. But Nocturne is the answer, and this is interesting because Nocturne has the unique sort of agency here to cut down on Kog'Maw's efficiency later, because you can't see as far as your attack range is. You have to go within the Nocturne sight radius to be able to do anything, which makes it really difficult for this Kog Lulu to exist. But well, that's a Rammus that just
Rammus is here.
Rammus did get buffed. Rammus, they took away the self-slow off of the defensive ball curl, and they made the ultimate a little bit longer range. the Corki going to be that answer into the Victor as well? This is just sort of the typical Corki Victor matchup. But yeah, this Rammus is just really, really interesting. And I'm curious to see how York sort of round out this comp as
I know
well.
Rammus has been slowly getting buffed over the last 2 months. I think he's gotten a lot more agency the last couple of patches, and we are going to see the Ornn ban coming through as far as that 5th one for the Saints. So nothing too surprising. Ornn, absolute nightmare to deal with late game once you get past like that 30-minute mark. Just basically seems unkillable at times, and say great art has a lot of utility there. We are going to see the Kennen pick coming through on that top side for York University. So definitely not the drafts we expected to see, but nonetheless should make for a very interesting game.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how this Kennen is going to be able to be played out here. It's a really good matchup into the Renekton just because you've got that ranged versus melee matchup, especially in the hands of someone as mechanically able as Sweet Tangerine. They should be feeling pretty good about themselves on that top side of the map, but a little bit curious as to how their team fights sort of play out. You know, you've got Amumu Kennen as sort of that combo. It's incredibly strong in conjunction with each other, but overall we should be getting ready to hop into game here. Very, very excited to see what these two teams have at it, because honestly, two very, very different team comps coming through on this.
Yeah, and as we said, it was funny enough. Yeah, we expected to see kind of a not a milquetoast comp, but a pretty meta comp. We expected to see a lot of the same champs coming through, and then we get thrown the curveball with the Kog'Maw. You get thrown a couple other curveballs. Didn't expect to see the Rammus come out this early, especially. We weren't sure. We talked about him before the game, but that he had gotten some buffs and could definitely be played. And we heard some of the guys mention it, I think last week or something like that. But to see all these champions come out now definitely makes for an interesting matchup, and I am very, very excited to see how this one's going to play out. Two very, very strong teams, so any mistakes could be easily punished on either side.
Seems like we're just getting through some spec delays here, but should be getting good to go soon. You can just see overall these team comps looking rather strong for both of these sides. Very curious about how the Rammus actually plays out. I mean, it's not something that we're to expect in a lot of ways, but overall should be quite interesting to see how that all plays out. Curious as well to see how Unawakened sort of performs in the jungle there as that sort of answer to everyone. Very, very interested to see how they sort of fill the shoes that Wail had before them, because Wail is such a strong ganking jungler overall. It was very strong in a lot of ways. Yeah,
and I'm curious to see. I know the Saints, I'm not sure if they're going to go for an early game play or anything else, but I think we actually are going to throw it to a very, very quick break just to get back in the client, get everything fixed there. So we'll catch you guys back in hopefully just a minute or two, and hopefully the spectator will be fixed. Thank you, Riot. Alright, back underway. Spectator delay is fixed and all the rest. We are going to get the screen changed over in just a second here, and then obviously we are going to be on to the Rift finally. Going to see these, little bit creative comps that we saw the other way around. So now, as we said, finally into game. Rammus showing, Kog'Maw showing for the side of the Saints. Going to see a couple more meta picks from the side of York, but ultimately comes down to how you execute in both teams. St. Clair looking to stay undefeated and looking to keep their ranking above York as far as things go.
Definitely, and I think this is a matchup that York feel the need to win as well. They did take a loss to U Ottawa, I believe it was a couple days ago actually, and just sort of a rescheduled game as well. Very curious to see if they can bounce back from that and sort of defend their ranking on those power rankings as well. But overall, I want to see how these two teams play it out. I want to see how the Rammus plays out, because Alonso... haven't seen the Rammus before. It's not something that I think a lot of junglers have been picking up, but it's a rather simple champion. If you're just able to get around the map, if you're able to make your ganks stick, can be really strong, because at the end of the game, you're just going to be just as tanky as the next member, if not stronger, especially into the likes of these 80 threats like the Nocturne and the Aphelios.
Yeah, most of the Rammus I've seen, mostly not really meme builds, but the boss running Rammus top and to replace the Cyan, kind of do a little bit of proxying, do a little bit of messing around, but now we are going to see it in his other home, going to be the jungle, and both teams is going to start things off, and I don't suspect we'll see too crazy of an early game, but who knows what these guys have in mind.
Yeah, and it seems like Alonso actually going to start on those Raptors. Misha actually going to spot this out with a ward, so at least they'll know where this jungler is starting, but Rammus does these so quickly, especially just because you get all that damage reflected back with the defensive ball curl there. But overall, I'm curious to see how this mid lane matchup goes, because Bakery Boy has been playing some of these more, passive mid laners as well as the more aggressive ones as well, so very comfortable in a lot of different builds. I want to see what the Corki goes for, because most recently, there has been this sort of Ludens Echo build that popped up specifically for Season 12, but now they're even starting to shift it back towards more of an on-hit build. I've seen Crit, Corki make a little bit of a comeback there. I've even seen Lichbane as an option just to get those Sheen procs through, so very curious to see what they'll actually go for in terms of their build, just to see how much damage they can actually put out into this Victor.
Yeah, it feels like we've been seeing the Crit build get a really popular for a lot of the champions, obviously due to a lot of the itemization and how things are shaking out, and that's what's going to make the preseason so exciting. So many item changes, so many different things. The Dragon's coming back. There's going to be so much different stuff coming in the game the next couple weeks, but still a little bit far away from that. And now both teams just a little bit of back and forth. Looks like St. Clair trying to take a little bit of prio early on in that bot lane.
They're just trying to get as much prio as possible. You can see still level 1 on Logian and Vent. They're really not able to find their footing in a lot of ways, so I want to see what their next steps are. Unawakened just going to continue that full clear on the Nocturne. One thing that is sort of a bonus for the Nocturne versus this Rammus is how much quicker they're going to clear. Rammus, not the fastest of clears in the world, but once you get level 3, it doesn't really matter how fast you clear. You're going to be looking for those ganks around the map.
Yep.
That's exactly what we're going to see. Powerball most likely going to come through to try and make a play happen onto Sweet on this top side of the map.
Yeah, Nocturne is lurking. Unawakened is not too far off, though, so maybe maybe they sensed the early gank was going to come through, trying to get there for the counter gank, but not going to walk all the way over quite yet, so they might be able to find some kind of play here. The stun is going to come through. Kennen, though, able to dash away. That little ball of lightning able to escape for the time being, so Alonso going to show, but not going to get anything quite for his trouble.
Yeah, and to be fair, Kennen did get buffs on this patch. Not that it really matters too much. What it does is that after you use your Lightning Rush, you get bonus attack speed that could equal or get more than the attack speed cap. Interesting trading. Oh boy, here comes a one Awakened.
Yeah, Ricky not gonna get caught a little bit too far there. He had his jungler with him a second ago, but just like that, we mentioned Unawakened, lurking in the wings, gonna get up there on Ricky, find first blood for the side of York. Fantastic start on that top side for him. And we're gonna see Mumu go and is gonna flash away there, so bot lane trying to get some action in as well, but not gonna find any kill. Just a couple summoners gonna be burned.
Yeah, a couple summoners by Invent there who was on the aggressive there, so a little bit interesting to see them being the one to sort of burn those summoners. But yeah, as you mentioned on that top side of the map, Ricky just going a little bit too aggressively into the cannon, not respecting the fact that Nocturne was most likely finishing a full clear there. And as you can see, Alonso just trying to pick up the crabs, pick up what they can here at that point, but still going to be in a little bit of a tough situation because this Nocturne, already with that Iron Spike whip, makes that clear even faster.
Yep.
And once you get level 6, you have to be worried about those Nocturne ganks, so they're so difficult to avoid.
Yeah, that's the thing with both of these junglers is that they are going to be active and they are going to be mobile getting around this map. Nocturne with the R and obviously Rammus driving around in the Powerball. So you have to be very, very aware. You have to be careful. You want to get prio, but you don't want to make sure it's at too heavy of a cost there. And once again, a little bit of poke back and forth in this bot lane. Bandage Toss is going to land. Flash is going to go out, and Rafa is still going to fall. So Logia going to find that kill there, and now Rammus comes in a little bit late. Alonso going to try to make some kind of play here, but it is a 3v2. And Mumu, second Bandage Toss to try to get the stun there, but they're going to get just a one throw there as York, and nothing going to be traded back.
Yeah, a little bit aggressive coming through from Rafa there, just in their positioning as well. Didn't really respect the fact that Unawakened could be lurking in the wings there. So thus far, York with a really strong early game. We'll see if they can continue this pace, because the comp from St. Clair, you've got this Renekton on your side. You really want to be playing towards this early game, but realistically, Kog'Maw Lulu is going to outscale almost any bot lane in the entire game, so you've still got a lot of agency available for Rockboom and Rafa. It's just got to play a little bit safer, especially into this lane with the aggressive support in the Amumu.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know that you might scale later on, but you don't want to get a Felios up to 4 or 5-0 before things, can start to get out of hand. He's already going to have that Noon Quiver in his pocket. Kog'Maw going to opt for the T2 boots first, so you don't want to get either of the AD carries ahead. You know how much of a nightmare it can be to come back. And as you said, Ricky just going to try to slowly farm his way back into this top lane, still keeping the CS just about even. So try to not get too far behind in any of the lanes here.
And curious to see that Bakery Boy opting for the Cull in this mid lane, just trying to keep as much of a gold advantage as they can overall. But nonetheless, you can just see sort of just waiting to see what the next play is from these teams. Sweet doing a great job of just putting the hurt down onto Ricky. The gold advantage really just through the jungle right now, but as we mentioned, tank junglers, they don't really need that much gold when all is said and done. They can go down these farm disadvantages. It's just you need to make sure you're finding your value elsewhere through your ganks, through all of this. With the blue buff not yet being taken by Alonso, it's a little bit of an interesting play to just skip that buff altogether and sort of pick it up now at 6 minutes into this game. This is still the first blue buff, though, so interesting angle. We'll see if they take that or maybe give that over to the mid laner. Seems like they're going to take it for themselves, just trying to get to level 6, but once again, Unawakened lurking on this top side of the map. Yeah,
luckily Ricky had the wherewithal to kind of back off there, realizing wasn't really going to get that much more CS, and possibly Unawakened was there in the wings, and just like that, he was for sure. Now Alonso finally going to take care of that first blue buff, 6.5 through. Baker Boy going to trade out Misha here in the mid lane to find some damage. The Victor's going to put the slow orb down, but not going to find anything. Amumu is in that mid lane, though. They're going to try to find this kill in the mid, but Luckily, Bakery Boy going to have enough wherewithal to back that one off, but huge trade in the top side as well. Ricky, once again, going to get a lot of damage, but there is Unawakened lurking in the wings. Flash, he is going to flash on and find the kill. He will end up falling to Unawakened here, but Ricky is going to at least get a 1-for-1 for his trouble, but, you know, you don't want to get the jungler too far ahead either.
Yeah, it was almost a way out there for Ricky, but of course both flashes burned. Sweet Tangerine not really respecting what Ricky LaFleur was able to put out with that Renekton. I mean, the Dominus comes through just so much tank stats to be able to survive what the Kennen was putting out. Slicing Maelstrom doesn't really do that much damage early on, especially when you don't have AP built up.
Yeah, we're going to see the bot lane. That's the thing with the Mumu. You know they're going to be super aggressive to the Saints. They have to be aware of this. They have to make sure they don't put themselves in position to get Hex flashed and queued on. They got to make sure they try to play a little bit smarter in that bot lane, especially once level 6 rolls around. The danger is that much more imminent. And Alonso going to try to walk the blue buff away here, try to take it, but Unawakened is going to follow right behind there, so he'll be able to take that one. And Alonso he's going to walk back and go back to his camps.
Yeah, Alonso really needs to take over to this level 6 here to try and make some plays around this bottom side of the map. I feel, you know, really good job from Rockboom to stay even in the farm department, just a little bit of an advantage because of that kill going over to Logia on the opposite side, but interesting angle as well from Logia, opting for press the attack as opposed to something like the lethal tempo. Of course, with the lethal tempo nerfs that just came down, you don't get as much range, so maybe Aphelios not valuing that as much, looking for a little bit more of that exposure damage. But on the flip side, Rockboom's still going for that lethal tempo. It's just so strong to be able to go over that attack speed cap and just drop down as much damage as a Kog'Maw can do. I just remember old Kog'Maw, old Kog'Maw, you know, the one after he got reworked the first time where his W gave him like double attack speed. That was a silly time because no, I remember some clips of like scripting Kog'Maws where they'd be like walking with 5 attack speed. I was like, oh, how do you do that? But now like everyone can get to 5 attack speed with lethal tempo, so curious to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, more back and forth in the bot lane. Invent should be hitting. They should be hitting level 6 just any moment here. He is going to hit that level 6 now. So Mumu now going to be fully online. The Saints going to have to be aware of it. They are going to. It is going to be a dragon for York to start things off. So Nocturne going to get that dragon solo in. That'll be one early objective for the side of York. And yeah, Mumu playing up in this bottom side bush here, trying to get a little bit of early aggression, but they are just going to back off for the time being. They got the wave shoved in to shut it back off and maybe get some purchases in.
Yeah, and I think Invent there was kind of showing outside of the bush, so sort of gave up that sort of play. Interesting angle for Invent to just sort of move up that far, but nonetheless, it's still going to be very difficult to take down a lane like Aphelios and Mumu, especially at level 6, because both of your ultimates on the side of St. Clair here don't really do that much in terms of combat power. Yes, you can keep the Kog'Maw alive a little bit longer with the wild growth, but even then, you know, it's nothing compared to Moonlight Vigil, aka 200 years, or the Curse of the Sad Mummy there. You've got so much more 2v2 potential now at level 6. But Invent is going to move up to this top side of the map with Herald spawning. You know, you want to try and take that objective away from the side of St. Clair, prevent them from getting any sort of money back in their favor, but Ricky's still going so aggressively here, despite not having the man advantage on his top side. Oh my.
Yeah, Aura's going to come through, but Nocturne going to come flying in over the Herald. Ricky going to get 3v1, going to get taken out in that top side river, and that's going to be a free Herald over to the side of York. So Ricky, once again, just being a little bit aggressive there, and ultimately the timing just not working out in his favor. All 3 members stacking up on that Rift Herald, then just being ready to move at a moment's notice.
And this is sort of what we were talking about from the get-go, where Ricky's been forced to play sort of this more weak side playstyle a lot more. Alonso likes to play towards mid and towards bot lane, but thus far this Rammus really not able to find too much value thus far. Curious to see where they want to sort of stake their claim, if we're going to see maybe a package play towards this bottom side of the map. Maybe we start to see some more aggressive plays come through. But, you know, the teleport's going to be unlocked soon as well, so at the time being, you know, 10.5 minutes into this one, a little bit of a disadvantage, but I think St. Clair is still just sort of coming into their own in a lot of ways, and I think once this Kog'Maw is able to pick up that Gwyn's, they'll be feeling a lot better about their situation.
Yeah, and I thought York was maybe going to walk away with the Herald, but I think they ended up backing off. I think the fear of Alonso being there did scare them off, but he is now going to try to solo the Herald. Unawakened looks like he won't be able to get there in time, so at least for the Saints' trouble, they are going to get the first Herald, but this bot side is having a pretty rough go right now. Going to be that second plate falling momentarily, going to be a little bit of CS dropped into the tower as well, so this bot lane for the side of York definitely thriving early in this game.
Yeah, the main thing that I see is just the package coming online for Bakery Boy, preventing the objective from being as free as possible, because all of a sudden there's this huge amount of damage that can come through from that package. So much zoning potential as well, so they just want to avoid that at all costs. But now, might be bringing this up towards the top side of the map. You know, the package is starting to expire. I want to see if they pull the trigger. That's exactly what they do. Yeah,
Bakery Boy is going to go in, going to land the stun as well. They're going to get a lot of damage go through, but unluckily not able to find the kill on the Kennen there. Now, Unawakened going to try to bounce back a little bit, but York is just going to walk away. No deaths going to be exchanged. I believe they did get a flash. Yeah, they did get Kennen to flash, so Not gonna, at least get a summoner spell out of it, but not gonna get anything else on that attempt.
At the very least, they get that summoner spell off of Tangerine, and it takes away a lot of your roaming potential. Cannon very much predicated on being able to use that flash to get onto the backline in a lot of these situations without being forced out. If you don't have that flash now, you have to try and ult through Alonso if it is a proper front-to-back team fight, or you have to find a flank with this teleport. So interesting to see them hold that teleport. Misha trying to get out of this one, but here it comes.
Yeah, Misha tried to steal a camp there, but a bunch of the Saints going to walk toward the river there. They are going to find the kill on Misha once and for all there. So a little bit greedy there, trying to take the camp, is going to get punished for it as well. So St. Clair, this is exactly what you have to do. Take the free kills when they kind of present themselves, slowly try to build your way back into this game, and to get a kill over to the Corki as well, definitely going to help out that mid lane matchup.
Definitely is. Invent missing out on that bandage toss. Overall, though, it was a good play for them to be able to rotate over. We see the power of the Rammus there now not slowed down by the defensive ball curl, means that you can just chase down people a lot easier, especially when you've got that ghost in your back pocket. So now you get bonus attack damage when you're you get on-hit damage, I believe, when you use your defensive ball curl as well with the Rammus W. So being able to chase down and be able to drop those auto attacks down as well really helps the champion to have a little bit more of a kill threat, be a little bit more menacing in the jungle as opposed to what it was before, where you just sort of stood there, you hope that you taunt them, you hope that they attack you, and you hope that they kill themselves with that. So very curious to see how it will transform from there. Yeah,
and Cloud Drake is going to be up in just about a minute or so, and this is actually looking really good for the York side. They have huge prio in the bot wave right now. This tower is honestly maybe 1 or 2 waves away from falling at this point, especially the way they've been ticking away at it, and if they're able to take out that tower, they should, Cloud Drake should be pretty easy for them to get. Mumu gonna land the bandage toss, not going to invest the arc quite yet, gonna land it now. Huge combo gonna go through Rock Boom. Is he gonna walk away with his life? He will be able to, but just at a sliver of HP, so Saints getting a little bit lucky there. They're not going to fall, but ultimately this tower is going to fall, looks like, at the end of it.
Yeah, Rafa doing a really good job of sort of preventing that from going down. Alonso's here. Logia's got to be careful, actually, getting polymorph. The tower's going to go down, though.
Yeah, tower is going to fall. Doctrine going to get the R. Perfect time to get in there. Tower is going to fall. And now York going to try to shove the Saints. Huge bandit toss going to land from far away. Still going to attack a little bit. They're going to land yet another stun. So York, they are trying to push for these kills. They're trying to force these kills, and at very worst, they're just going to fall back. Cloud Dragons up in 15 seconds. They're going to play and probably end up getting that sucker for free.
That's a lot burned from the side of St. Clair, though, and that really prevents them from fighting around this dragon. Unfortunately, Bakery Boy not able to come down to that bot lane in time. Really no defense in that sense. I mean, Logia had red-white, never fight. That's sort of the rule when you get to Aphelios, and now just going to be able to take down this dragon. It is a Cloud Dragon, not going to be the highest value, but look at what they're able to exchange in turn here. If they're able to hold this mid-wave where it is, should mean that they're able to reply at the very least. No plate's going to go down, unfortunately, in favor of Bakery Boy with the Herald charge, but they were able to pick some up beforehand, and this Corki is going to start to evolve into the later stages of this game. Granted, with the build that they've got, they're really lacking a lot of damage. Hex Drinker is a 1,300 gold investment as a defensive tool versus everything else. The Cull as well, more of a scaling tool in that light, even in that sense, there's no Sork shoes online yet for the Corki, so not really able to cut through some of those resistances. I want to see if they have any sort of answer as the game goes on. It's still rather close to only about a 1,000 gold deficit for the side of St. Clair right now.
And exactly the kind of play you wanted to see. If they're going to end up dropping that top tower, at least you find a good time to use that Rift Herald, especially if you're going to drop that second dragon. So you have to find these small victories and what seem like defeat, especially if you're going to burn a bunch of sums in the bot lane. You have to make sure you make up for it, as you said earlier. You have to make up for it somewhere else on the map, and so far they've done a pretty good job of that, all things considered. I think Ricky took a couple plates topside before they fell as well. So the Saints are trying to find some equal value in some of these lanes, but it looks like York just going to have the very slight edge to kick things off.
Yeah, and if we look at where the gold is allocated here, a lot of that's going to be on Logia right now. Pretty substantial gold lead, about 1,000 gold over this side of the Kog'Maw. So that's exactly where your scaling is sitting right now. Interestingly enough, Sweet hasn't really had the kindest of times against Ricky in the 1v1s, especially as Unawakened starts to move towards that bottom side. So a little bit of a gold lead actually for this Renekton. I want to see if that translates into anything as the time goes on here, but now just continuing to funnel more gold into this Aphelios. You've got to find some way to shut this down. You can see they're sort of lurking for a play here. Got Alonso and Rafa here. Let's see if Bakery Boy's able to put out the damage. It's going to be tough, especially with the Amumu and the Nocturne as well in the area.
Yeah, Wave is going to crash in there, but yeah, there's so much going on that top side. It's pretty hard to push, and honestly, Amumu being there is kind of like the kill switch for the Saints. You don't really want to attack that too hard, because you go in there too far against Amumu, you're pretty much going to be stuck there until the fight's over, and might not necessarily go your way. So the Saints going to be aware of that, not going to give too much chase. They're going to try to fall back, farm under tower a little bit will be Bakery Boy now, filling up in this top side. And both say, I think it'll just be more of a back and forth, try to get some CS up, try to, close the gap, get to that part of that latter stage of the game. And ultimately, I think the Saints try to start making, at least giving yourselves a chance to fight around these objectives.
And I think the main thing that they can look towards here is now you've got the Turbo Chem tank built up on this Remus, means that your clear is faster because of the AoE damage you can do when you auto-attack, but also just the fact that you've got extra mobility, you've got extra movement speed, you're able to leap into that backline a little bit easier because of the way that the scaling works with the ultimate and the movement speed, all of that jazz. It'll be interesting to see how they play this out. Once again, Rock Boom still scaling up, just sort of sitting there in the hyperbolic time chamber, getting as much farm as possible. Realistically, the Kog'Maw's perfectly happy to have this sort of boring of a scoreline at this point, just because they've got all this farm building up for them. Once you get to the Wit's End, which I believe is that second item, they're going to be feeling really good about themselves. And the interesting thing about Kog'Maw is you build, you know, your damage items. Quinsu's, Wit's End, very often a Blade of the Ruined King as well. You build something like a Randuin's Omen, and you build a tank mythic. And that's just the way that Kog'Maw goes, because you don't need at that point, you do so much damage, you don't need that extra little bit. You can just sort of sit there, drop all your auto attacks down. You're still going to be shredding people in 3-4 auto attacks, so it doesn't matter if you've got a Frostfire Gauntlet to keep you alive. It doesn't matter if you have a Randuin's to keep you alive as well.
Yeah, we're going to see Misha getting over to the Loons now, going to get that mythic item, and so now the items starting to pile up for both sides. Going to see Ricky is going to opt for the Prowler's Claw as well, so going to go for that full engage, and honestly, how aggressive he's been playing, not super surprising to see. I know, I think we've seen him bust out the item on a couple other champs before, so going to go for that hard engage, try to make sure if York is able to get in, that they're not able to get out quite as easily. We're going to see Kennen over on the Rocket Bells, and Ricky is actually going to go in, but Nocturne once again, Unawakened seem to just have Ricky's number as far as catching him slacking. Bandage Toss is going to come through. Ricky is going to dive away. He should be able to get over the wall. He is for the time being. Bandage Toss is going to miss, but Ricky not looking too good here. It looks like he will end up falling, not going to get to the Blast Cone in time, and Unawakened going to find his third kill of the game, and this Nocturne is starting to look pretty beefy.
Yeah, on the flip side, though, look at what you're getting in return. You're getting so much prior on this top side of the map now. They already took that bot lane turret, so it's sort of a dead kill on the bottom side of the map. You get the kill, but that's it. There's nothing more to really get off.
And it's not a shutdown or anything either,
And if we can actually get the objective timers as well, we'll find out exactly when this dragon's spawning, because it's still for another, 30, 40 seconds at that. So we'll have to find out when that will come through as well, because it's 2 towers on the top side of the map able to come through for them.
Yeah, I think it'll be about 45 seconds to the drag spawn, based on the pings that we're seeing there. So be about 45 seconds to the next dragon as well. St. Clair definitely going to want to try to contest this one. You don't want to put York on soul point this early. You want to make sure, because then York can just, even if it's a dragon, they don't necessarily want, like if it's a cloud dragon, they're like, okay, we're willing to concede this. It gives York a lot of agency to go to that top side, try to play through the mid side, not have to worry about the bot lane as much. They can just kind of let St. Clair take the dragon. And exactly as St. Clair just did, hey, you're going to find a kill worth not that much in the bot lane. We're going to take this Rift Herald top and run it down as far as we can.
At the very least, despite the gold advantage that Ricky has there, 1 and 4, they just sort of soaked up all the pressure, and that it's exactly what you want to see out of the weak side top lane there. And even then, it's effectively even across the rest of the map now. Looking at the items, it's a second completed item for the Aphelios, which is a little bit of a worry here, but look at the guns that they've got as well. You've got Infernum, you've got Gravitum. Infernum really good for doing a lot of damage in AoE as well. For the ultimate specifically, Gravitum not as much. It's more of the utility play, so maybe we see that in conjunction with Sweet, but Ricky already in that front line taking so much damage.
Yeah, this Amumu has been an absolute menace for the Saints. Ricky is going to dive back in. Taunt's going to go through. Amumu is going to fall. Actually going to flash down. Their curse came through. Lots of damage on both sides. Fights happening all over the river. 1 kill going to be found. Couple of kills for the side of York are going to go through. It looks like they will ultimately walk away with the win in the team fight, and they're going to go on to Soul Point as well.
Yeah, a very big fight for them because of how spread out it was. I mean, the dive coming through from Sweet and Unawakened onto that backline, just not enough peel potential coming through from Rafa quite yet onto Rockboom, just missing a little bit of that damage, and because of what we were talking about, that interaction between the Kog'Maw and the Nocturne, it makes it so difficult to stay alive. Alonso not really able to use that ultimate for anything. Now might actually drop as well.
Ooh. Yeah, Alonso going to get the red buff. It looks like he'll more than likely fall. Maybe gets to the blast cone. Is going to avoid the E. Gonna just get away there with his life. So that is actually a huge play for Alonso to not give that kill over to the Victor. You don't want to get Victor ahead in any capacity. He's got that Dark Shield. Already has a couple stacks on it. And he would have taken the red buff as well. So great job by Alonso to get away. But the Saints still got some ground to make up now after that last fight.
I think another thing to point out as well is I think Bakery Boy actually also missed out on getting the package as well for that fight, which is massive because that would be sort of your turnaround potential. You're able to cut through the team. You're able to use that as a peel tool as well for this Kog'Maw to output even more damage. But because it wasn't available, or at least I don't believe it was available in that fight, it's so much more difficult for the side of St. Clair to get any sort of footing. Still, only about a 3,000 gold deficit. They're still got a lot of tools in their pocket to be able to turn this one around. But even then, you look at the likes of this Nocturne and Kennen combo, they're so strong at this point. You need to find a way to cut through them, as now Unawakened going for a little bit of a different build here. Force of Nature second item here to cut through some of this magic damage. know, when you've got, you know, Corki Kog'Maw, who does mostly magic damage, Rammus, who does magic damage, Lulu, who does magic damage. All you need now is those Anathema's chains on someone, and you can just lock someone down, and that's exactly what the Amumu picked up. Wouldn't even be too surprised if they put this onto Riki, who's really the only source of AD in this comp.
Yeah, and we've already seen this Nocturne. You definitely have to figure out some way to get at him. Unawakened has been all over the map, and he has been a part of, say, like most of the kills, 75% of the kills so far. And this Amumu doing a fantastic job of roaming, just making their presence known all over the map right now in York, just finding those groups for the team fights. It looked like they might try to posture for Baron, maybe try to get some topside vision there, but say Baron has been up for about a minute and a half now at this point. The Saints try to get these waves pushed out a little bit. They are going to actually, they're going to start the Baron. They're going to clear vision at least for the time being. So York trying to slowly set up for this Baron, and that's a beautiful thing. They are on soul points, so that St. Clair's going to have to make a decision depending on the Dragon. Do we want to fight for the Dragon, or do we want to, you know, give Baron in the process? It's going to be a pretty interesting time when it comes up.
And I think the main thing to keep in mind is just the investment of what they're putting towards this top side of the map. You put Sweet on this bottom side of the map, who has the teleport, who can join at a moment's notice. You know, you're really setting up for this Baron in any sort of right, and just clearing out that vision increases your threat level on the top side of the map. It says, hey, you know, now we can start this up, and you don't have any vision there. If you want to get vision, you're going to have to invest a lot, and exactly that. You're going to start this Baron up right away.
Yeah, and honestly, the way the fights have gone the last couple times, I'm not sure if the Saints, even like a 4v4, if they really want to dive in there and get too crazy, Bakery Boy is going to try to poke from the outside, going to try to damage up that Amumu a little bit, but not really going to find too much value. It looks like York is going to back off. They got, you know, they got sought out by Bakery Boy. They got spotted out. Maybe just try to get some more vision down. They are going to go for some poke as well, though, so they're going to fall off the Baron. The Saints did kind of get back in time. There would have been a pretty interesting contest, but York not going to get too greedy, and that's honestly the sign of a very, very smart team. Not going to get too greedy. They realize they have a decent lead right now to play with. They have the Dragon advantage, just not going to risk it all for one Baron play early on.
And realistically, the longer that they stall at this Baron, the more threat level they have on the top side of the map as well, because you can't give over solo to the side of St. Clair either. Looking at the Grievous Wound situation, there is none coming through yet, which is a worry once they get this Ocean Soul, and it's going to be a high value Ocean Soul as well. You know, the only person who can't really poke anyone out is the likes of Invent, who once they commit, they'll just have that extra regeneration working for them. Everyone else can just drop, you know, a skill shot, hope that it hits onto someone, you get that regen back, and every single fight is just going to be going in your favor a little bit more. So I'm worried about the side of St. Clair here, because they're forced into a situation, a little bit of a catch-22, where I do give up Soul, you give up Baron. You don't really want to give up either of those at that point, because especially in the situation of giving over Baron, they could end the game with how strong they are at this point. Death timers are starting to ramp up here. Granted, only 24 minutes in, there's still a decent amount to play for here. Kog'Maw sitting on 2 items is going to be a really big break point here. Realistically, you'd want to have maybe another half item to be able to fight these, but you know, you got to work with what you've got, and I think they're just working towards these break points here, especially with Alonso very close to that Force of Nature as well. Yeah,
and trying to tie down any of the York members is going to be tricky. You have Kennen with the Rocket Belt, you have Amumu obviously able to bandage toss, even to grab a minion or a jungle camp to kind of get out of a fight. Aphelios going to have that Gale Force, so he's able to either get in and find a kill, or get out, try to keep that poke going from that backline. So the Saints, they're going to have a hard time locking down the team of York in a lot of these fights. They don't really have necessarily the greatest levels of CC to try to, you know, get York into those small areas, into those choke points, and try to really weed them out. So it'd be very interesting to see how they want to attack these team fights, or, you know, who they want to target as far as when the fights start. Who's our key member to try to take out, to at least try to swing this our way.
Yeah, and now 30 seconds away from this Dragon. It's so important to try and get any sort of information. Look at this. Invent just lurking in the shadows in that bush there. Doesn't really need to be posturing aggressively here, but now, as we talked about, the package is available. I want to see them use this as sort of a dissuasion tool. I don't want to see them try and look for the fight off of that. I need them to zone them away and try and buy as much time for the likes of this Kog'Maw to just cut down on this objective. You can see teleport coming in from Riki, now completed that second item, so now you're on your item breakpoints. This is the time to fight. This is where you can stand your ground if you're St. Clair, and as we said, it's so difficult because they can just walk over towards this Baron and they have no fear of that. That's exactly what they're going to do.
They're going to send Bakery Boy, maybe one other member to go show. They are going to, I think, actually, they're going to completely abandon the Dragon, so not too bad of a strategy, especially if you're going to go 5-stack over there. You know that New York isn't going to be able to take the Dragon behind you, and now you're going to be able to contest the Baron. Hiding in the bush, multiple members, stuns are going to come through. Nearsight goes through as well. Lulu getting absolutely shredded by Sweet. Riki is going to find the kill, though. Massive damage coming through from both sides. Ropham going to try to take out Invent here in the mid lane. Going to get tagged down very low. Logia going to find 2 kills with a double kill there, and 1 going over to Victor as well. Misha going to find the kill, so ultimately not going to go in the Saints' favor. I believe that's going to be a 4 for 2, and ultimately it means soul point for York as well.
And it's difficult because it's up to Bakery Boy to try and stop this Dragon as well, but even then, not really in the position to do so. Doesn't have the package available. Finally, Bakery Boy is able to get onto the score sheet this time around, but even then, I don't know if they can actually get to this dragon in time. It's a little bit of a give situation, and that's the catch-22 that we were talking about. You either find the fight, be able to find a lot of kills, and be able to pick up both objectives, or you potentially go even in the fight, you maybe even lose it, and you give up one of those objectives, you can't complete the other one. That's just going to be Seoul in the hands of York University, and now it's coming down to a dragon win condition, right? You've got to try and find any sort of advantage you can. Yes, Bakery Boy is able to collect that top turret for themselves, but at the end of the day, you look at the trader resources, Seoul is permanent in a sense, and it's going to be really difficult to fight up against it, especially when Grievous Wounds are as weak as they are. You don't really have any items to build up against it. Granted, no extra healing on the side of York University apart from the Aphelios, so it's really only one target you've got to worry about healing way too much.
Yeah, and that was the tricky thing that we mentioned, is that it's okay if you give Soul Point as long as you get something in return, but taking a fight next to Baron, losing it 4-2, and then still giving Soul is kind of a worst case scenario. You didn't really get any value in any of the lanes. You have a little bit of top lane prio, but not going to mean a whole lot at this stage of the game, especially considering where the lane is pushed up right now, and bot lane being shoved in right now. They didn't really get anything back for either of those plays, and we know York is probably going to try to posture for this Baron sooner than later. You know York at this point, they're more than willing to engage in these fights with St. Clair, I think.
It's because they've got the lead as well. You know, you've got this Aphelio sitting on 2.5 items, almost on 3 items. I mean, give Logia maybe another 30 seconds to a minute, probably resetting right now for that Infinity Edge. It's going to be difficult to cut through that member as well, but look at this. A little bit more aggressive on the damage front coming through from Rockboom, probably building towards the shield bow at the very least, but it does give you a little bit more damage as opposed to something like the Frostfire. It's going to be difficult to try and out-damage this Aphelios at this point, especially with where this champion is. Just strong in the meta, 3 items. It's really difficult to cut down Logia here, especially with how well they've been playing these fights. Yeah, and that's the only problem. Now, we said Aphelios earlier, it was okay when he just had 1 kill. He wasn't too far ahead, but now as things have progressed, Saints almost have to play kind of like a stall out for this game. They have to try to just get this game to go 6 or 7 minutes, just try to farm up, get to these items, and then force a team fight they're comfortable with, because right now York, even though some of the fights have been slightly close, York ends up just completely wiping it by the end and still being about, 30%, 35% health, which is still a significant amount to get through. So we're going to see both teams kind of posturing toward this top side, maybe trying to make some kind of play in the Baron. York going to get aggressive, trying to take these top side camps, but both teams, they're trying to posture and make something happen here. The really important member I want to keep my eye on is Bakery Boy here, because they've got, 3.5 items now complete. This is really the member you've got to keep your eyes on, because they've got this lead over Misha in a lot of senses. Misha's still trying to work towards what looks to be either a Shadow Flame or a Rabadon. It's very likely Shadow Flame to cut through some of these shields, but now just going to go right over to this Baron. They don't really have an idea, but look at the damage the Rockets do. This is the importance of Bakery Boy in these fights.
Yeah, Bakery Boy is going to be absolutely critical to win any fight. I don't think the Saints can, straight up, they cannot win a fight without him, especially having the package there on standby as well. Baron is going to get contested there. We're going to see one member tag down low. The Nocturne Unawakened, going to be about half. He's going to dive all the way in. Damage is going to go through. He is going to get taken out by Rockroom, so huge kill for the Saints. He's going to find 2 kills. A lot of damage back and forth. Kennen going to pick one up there as well. Kennen going to find 2 of his own, so now very even fight back and forth. The Saints still posturing in this river. Amumu very low as well. Bakery Boy is going to find yet another kill. So just as we said, that Corki was going to be massive to play out this fight, and looks like they might be able to find the kill. Misha's stopwatch is going to get burned. Should be able to get the stun here. They are going to find the knockup. Misha does find the kill into the Lulu though, and not going to go away just yet. Alonso going to tag down low, and Corki going to get that finishing blow. So it's fantastic to get the Corki a couple more kills, but the Saints, they lost a lot in that fight as well.
I think this is still a winning fight for the side of Saints, though, because they pick up so many shutdowns, and they're all going into Rockboom's pocket. They're all going into Bakery Boy's pocket, and now you've got enough tankiness on Alonso here to look for a potential 2-man Baron. This is a really important play. Unawaken's alive, though. Might sniff this out. The teleport's going to come through. This is desperation coming through from the side of St. Clair. Alonso has no health, but now you've got Ricky here. It's still really difficult because now you don't have your smite available. Who's running down there already? You've got 3 members of the side of York looking for this. This is so risky.
This is going to be very, very close. And honestly, I think the Saints realize they are actually not going to get it. The TP is going to come in backside. So if I'm not mistaken, this will end up being a Baron, most likely for York. They're able to back all the Saints off. So the Saints, they make a risky play, what they saw probably as one of their only win conditions at this point, but ultimately not going to pan out. Now York just going to posture and try to hold on to this Baron.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like they can go for it either. It's a teleport coming in from the side as well from, I believe that's Misha, but this is so difficult because you don't have Bakery Boy here. You have the teleport available, but you need to look for the fight. Alonso can't get in.
Yeah, and they have no wards in that pit to get in either, anything like that. So the Baron is going to fall for the side of York. TP is going to come through a little bit later. Bakery Boy is going to come in for the fight. So maybe the Saints now, they're going to try to stop these Baron backs. They are going to land the package. Flash over the wall. Huge knockup. Alonso going to get right in there. Massive job by Bakery Boy to get in there, get a lot of damage, and they are not going to let York back on this Baron. Trades are going to go through. Bakery Boy going to find one there. Bounties are online. Both teams going back and forth. Rockboom still getting a little bit of tick damage. Is going to get run up on though. Logia is going to fall. Aphelios is going to be down for York. That is massive, but Unawakened is going to find that kill on the counterpart. Rafa running for his life now, not going to be able to get away. Unawakened is going to flash. Misha will end up with the kill, so the Saints, pretty good effort there to try to stop those Baron backs, but ultimately going to lose a lot for it.
And I think Bakery Boy was waiting for the package, couldn't teleport in right away. Think you needed that 3-4 seconds earlier, but even then you forced the fight a little bit too much. You jump into that backline, and while you're able to find a kill into Invent, who cares? It's the Amumu. You've got to worry about this Kennen. You've got to worry about even the Aphelios damage. Logia was just able to play so aggressively to take down Rockboom, and while it looked really good for a little bit there where Rockboom was full health, still staying alive, just not enough shielding, not enough, extra health being given by Rafa, and now with Elder Dragon spawning in 45 seconds, you've got to contest against these Baroned up minion waves coming through, as well as the Ocean Soul. There's so many things that are going in favor of York here, and St. Clair, there's still a chance in this game. You've still got a lot of angles. Now, look at this, 3.5 items complete on Rockboom. It's really down to this Kog'Maw. If Kog'Maw can stay alive and free hit for, 10 seconds, maybe even less, 5 seconds, onto a key member like Sweet, like Logia, like Misha here, you're going to be able to turn this fight in your favor, but you need a proper front to back, and they've really been prevented from doing that with how well Unawakened and Sweet are getting into that back line.
We're going to see Victor did pick up the Rabadon's Death Cap, and we're going to see Nocturne, the Unawakened, is going to have the Guardian Angel as well, so definitely something to look out for the Saints when they get in that fight. Realize Unawakened is going to come back online at some point. Look at Invent hiding in the bush, but Bakery Boy going to be aware of it, going to send some damage out there, not let the Mummy hide in the bush there and land one of those Qs, or possibly, land that ultimate Raptor on. So now the Saints, they're going to go for this engagement. Looks like they're going to go for it. Alonso was trying to get over there, but Bandage Toss was going to land. A lot of damage going through on him, but looks like somebody's getting chunked on. Misha getting absolutely deleted by Ricky. Tower is going to fall bot side for the Saints, but they're going to find the kill. Looks like both teams, they're going to try to make this fight for Elder.
And this is a really good pick as well because of how much poke damage Misha was putting out in these. It gives you an option. Logia drops the Moonlight Vigil, but it's not enough now. Invent going too deep. This is really difficult because Sweet's on the side.
Yeah, Sweet finds a kill in Alonso. Now York, they have the pressure. They have the advantage. They're going to walk the Saints down in this bottom side jungle. Bandage Toss goes in once again. Rockboom getting tagged down very low. Going to be a double kill for the side of the Kennen there. Sweet going to walk away with 2, and now Ricky running for his life. It looks like he probably won't end up getting away from this one. Unawakened and Invent going to team up for the kill there, and now it will be Elder over to York, and if you're the Saints, I'm not sure exactly what your win angle is at this point.
It has to be a steal angle. I think Bakery Boy just needs to try and participate in this one, but it doesn't even look like they're going for that. So much damage available on this Aphelios, and this Kennen Nocturne combo has just been working to a T every single fight that we see these two members, and they're just getting so much value. 8-2 and 10 coming through from Sweet, 6-2 and 9 coming through from Unawakened. It's not surprising, in all honesty, to see Sweet have such a strong performance. And in a lot of ways, this draft, we mentioned it, it's a little bit uncharacteristic from the side of St. Clair, and it feels as if they're just missing some of the nuance of this comp. This Kog'Maw being the first, being frontline in front of the Lulu as well as the Rammus there, or in front of the Corki as well. A little bit interesting, Rammus not really able to find as much value as you'd hope. You want those taunts to be going down onto Logia every single time, who hasn't bought a QSS for Rec. You want to try and burn that cleanse as often as possible. It just feels like there's more dive available on the side of York, and there's not enough disengage from the side of St. Clair, really leading to their downfall in this game thus far. Yeah,
and that's what we said earlier. I felt like the York had a lot of ways to get in and out of fights, both with the items and with the champions they chose. In St. Clair, it didn't feel like they had any way to kind of lock down one champion to try to get that Aphelios out of the fight, either get some team CC going. They didn't seem like they had a great way to do that, and now it is definitely showing its head. So they're able to dive in, but York is able to get on that second, third wave of engage, get out, re-engage when they decide fit, when the summoners maybe come back up, and now Saints could be hanging out in the base here in York. They're going to start to breathe down the nectar. They're going to start to slowly look for this win angle without, probably trying to give away any picks or shutdowns.
Yeah, and especially with Logia now sitting on 4 items, building towards that Guardian Angel, it's going to be so difficult to be able to find a meaningful kill onto the Aphelios. It's been just a game of attrition, it feels like, in a lot of ways. You played weak side, top side, but you weren't getting advantages on the opposite side of the map. Now Ricky, sort of out of the game at this point, only sitting on 3 items compared to full build effectively coming through from the Kennen. You need to try and find some sort of defense, but it's so difficult, especially with the amount of scaling on the opposite side. Victor Aphelios are no slouches in the late game. Kennen still scales quite well. Look at the damage, though, coming through.
1 HP, not going to quite find the kill, and that would have been a massive kill on the Saints. They're going to try to move on this one. Powerball is going to go in, but don't want to get too aggressive. Once that health starts to slowly come back up, Elder and Cloud, you don't want to, let that health slowly come back up. That would have been very, very risky for Alonso. He's still going to posture a little bit high up there. Sweet is going to walk down there. Maybe York will try to look for a pick, but again, they don't want to give away their hand too early. They realize they're in fantastic position, starting to take those T3 towers. They don't want to throw this game away. The only way, honestly, York loses this game is if they kind of throw it away at this point.
Yes.
If they just play safe and shove waves, they'll end up winning this game pretty easily. So St. Clair, that's the problem. Now they have to make some kind of hero play, and it's hard to see where that's going to come from. Maybe try to make a play on the Baron. That's probably their only angle to try to get back in the game, but not exactly sure how they're going to get in otherwise.
Yeah, especially when you look at the overall compositions here, you know, you're able to do all this damage with Bakery Boy, but you never really have that kill switch. You don't have that angle to just go in onto the backline. And the thing about this Nocturne pick is that it's point and click. You just say, hey, I see you, Rock Boom. There we go. We're going into this backline. Sweet has found so many flanks for themselves as well. And not only are they the strong flanker that's providing crowd control, they're the strong flanker that provides crowd control and kills people here at this point. You know, Elder Dragon has expired, but Baron now spawning. Right now, it's going to be a little bit of a tough situation, especially with this top inhib down. You've always got to keeping an eye on those waves, and especially with the fact that York are playing around Vision so well here. They can just pull the trigger at any point. Alonzo, not as tanky as we would expect from Aramis at this point as well. You know, only 2 items. Going to be really difficult to stay alive and keep Bakery Boy and Rock Boom in good shape. And especially since they picked up the package. You know, this is going to be a zero-value package here. Oh,
yeah, and there the Unawakened is going to dive in right there. The fight is going to start there. Nearsight going to go through. Lots of damage going to go on Misha, but nonetheless, going to find the kill onto Ricky there. Now going to be a 5v4 from the side of York. More damage. Aphelios going to find a couple there. The Saints are getting wiped off this bottom side jungle. A third going to go through for Logia. And just like that, now all on Rafa the Lulu, trying to run away, wondering where did my AD carry go, and Unawakened just slowly walking her down, trying to find this kill angle. Rafa trying to stall as long as possible. God bless him, but even if he's able to stall this out, nonetheless, there's a couple members of York sitting in the base right now, and they look like they're going to end this game one way or the other, and there it is. York takes a 1-0 lead.
And this is no surprise coming through, especially from a team as strong as York. You know, with the limited changes that they had to their roster season over season, you know, they're still looking really strong. And maybe that loss to Ottawa put a little bit of fire under them, saying, hey, you know what, we've got to step it up. And I think St. Clair, in a lot of ways, didn't quite respect the agency that Sweet had on that top side of the map. Just sort of saying, we'll first pick this Renekton as sort of an ego pick almost. And they get punished with a Kennen that just did so well to turn this game around. Yeah,
Renekton is an extremely good champ, but that's a champ that's easily counterable. You can play around him very, very easily after on the enemy team. And honestly, I think the side of York just had more options they could do. They had a lot of engage, they had disengage, they had crazy damage with the Aphelios. You had the Nocturne, and we saw the Nocturne able to fly all over the map. Basically, he was the catalyst to start every single fight. Usually it's the Amumu, it can be either one of them, but having the ability of 2 champions to fight, like kind of fly around the map, able to start those fights, get in and get out. The Saints just didn't really have enough agency with some of their comp. I think they just there's a lot left to be desired, I think.
For sure. I think the main thing to keep in mind is just that, you know, Nocturne does such a good job at shutting down the likes of the Kog'Maw and not really able to drop any of that damage down for 6 seconds while they're nearsighted. You know, you can't really throw the ultimates because you don't know where they are. And unfortunately, the Lulu just didn't provide enough peel for the Kog'Maw to be able to do their job. I think Bakery Boy had a really, really strong performance on this Corki, but once again, your lack of frontline in a way as well. You know, the Rammus wasn't as tanky as we wanted to. The Renekton wasn't really one-shotting anyone in the backline to make it worth it. Feels like their team comp just missed on a couple of levels, but overall, a really good performance from York, and I think there's going to have to be some adjustments going into game 3.
Yeah, they felt just like a little bit too squishy. While Renekton and Rammus can be that frontline. They didn't really frontline the entire game, and not really having that frontline and trying to play for the backline when your backline is kind of getting gapped by Aphelios and Mumu, who's very, very oppressive bot lane, 2 of the most meta characters in the game right now. So both champs are going to be very solid on their own, and together it just caused an absolute nightmare scenario for St. Clair. And as we said, they have to go back to the drawing board for game 2 here.
Yeah, I think we'll have to keep our eyes on what they opt to pick for themselves, because it felt like they picked a very non-St. Clair comp in a lot of ways.
We hadn't seen any of I don't think we've seen Corki, Rammus. We hadn't seen a lot of those champs picked out.
We hadn't seen the Kog'Maw. We've seen the Lulu from Rafa, but in different combinations as well. So I think overall there's just a little bit missing in terms of what we expect from them at this point. And I mean, this is a team that a lot of people have been really high on, and you know, York maybe even a little bit undervalued in those power rankings. I mean, it's a little bit challenging to put a team like York down and out for real, because they've got so much experience on their side. You know, Legion Invent, this is their 3rd year, I believe, playing together, possibly even more. Sweet has been a standout performer, you know, one of the youngest players on that team as well. You know, Misha's had a couple of rounds in CLOL as well. So, I mean, overall, they're a very, very strong team. We can't take away from that value on York. And I think St. Clair, they really need to show up in this game too and make a statement game.
Yeah, York played an absolutely unbelievable game right there. You could tell, obviously, as you said, consistency is key in a lot of esports. You can tell when people have been around each other, the timings seem to always mess. They seem to just always group at the right times, engage when they had to engage. And one thing, they didn't get greedy. They realized they had the win pretty much in the bag from about 20, probably 25 minutes. They really had it once they got the Elder and once they got Soul. They're like, okay, slowly push the waves. Nobody get picked. They did a great job of not giving away too many shutdowns, always getting equal trades out. And obviously, they're just walking away with a pretty easy game one win there. And I think we are going to throw it to a very, very quick break between games. So obviously, we're going to have to come back on the other side with the draft and everything else. So it'll be a bit, maybe like a 5-10 minute break, depending how long it'll be. But we'll catch you guys all back on the other side. St. Clair down 0-1 right now. And welcome back in, everybody. Game one, not going in the Saints' way there. They did fall to York University, and a pretty convincing game one, to be honest, all things considered. And honestly, you don't want to say you lost it in the draft, but if you look back at the drafts, I think you're definitely going to say that York had the upper hand. They had a lot more agency, a lot more utility amongst their 5 picks. So now, curious to see what kind of adaptations we're going to see.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what ends up coming through. Now, switching sides, it's going to be Saints on the red side here. LeBlanc going to still be that first ban. I think that's no real surprise, all things considered, especially since Baker Boys looked really, really good on that champion all season.
Yeah, we've seen the LeBlanc ban pretty much every single game the Saints have played, and when it's gotten through, he's usually popped off. So the comfort pick going to be knocked out. St. Clair is going to take away Misha's Victor, and honestly, kind of ran rampant in that mid lane for a long time, got to those items really, really early in the game. So not too bad of a pick. And obviously Victor's just a very, very solid mid pick overall. Good blind pick either way. So get him out of the game as early as possible. Now, once again, Caitlyn ban, not surprising.
Yeah, I think you take this Victor away, it's just sort of taking a comfort level away from Misha as well. The Caitlyn as well sort of fits into that. I mean, Logia has played it in the past and past seasons, but once again, if you have some information on this team, if you know they're going to go for this something like a Caitlyn Lux, you want to take that off the table as well. Next, the Nocturne ban.
Good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think we both agree on that. You know, they sort of pulled it out of the hat a little bit with that. I believe it was R4. They picked that up, so it was sort of unexpected from them to pull that through, and it really had a lot of value, especially into the likes of that Kog'Maw Lulu.
Yeah, I feel like Nocturne kind of is what kicked the game off and got York ahead early, and honestly, that St. Clair couldn't really ever play keep up from that point. Just feel like Unawakened was all over the map so often, had his presence known in all 3 lanes, was there to counter gank. The timing was so good for them, and now we're going to see the Lulu ban coming through, so a lot of target bans back and forth so far.
Yeah, and I think especially York here, they can just take away some of those targets as well. They don't need to ban anything too differently here as to why they keep the LeBlanc and the Caitlyn ban here. The last ban is going to be that Jarvan, you know, taking away some of that early agency away from someone like Unawakened, who'd had a really strong game. And I think especially when you're coming off the back of, you know, losing one of your key members of that, you know, CLOL 2021 squad, you want to be able to sort of get back up on your feet and say, hey, we're still here to play. And with Whale not being there anymore, you still got to keep in mind that there are strong junglers available at York.
Yeah, we are going to see Aphelios going to be first picked, I believe, yet again for York. So again, super solid ADC choice, and the Misfortune coming through on the other side. So trying to counter into that Aphelios and not let him get as crazy as he got last game.
And basically, it's you know, S1 and S2 in terms of the rankings right now. I think especially at Worlds, we've seen the rise of Lucian Nami, not so much so reflected on the current patch. It's more so 2 patches ago that was really strong. Misfortune hasn't really received any nerfs since then. Aphelios hasn't really received any nerfs since then either. So I think those are 2 of the strongest AD carries. They're 2 of the more popular AD carries as well. I mean, you've got Emo Boy on one side, you've got Pirate with 2 guns on the other side there, alongside the Maokai now picked up though. So I think overall it's a better looking draft already from the first 2 picks.
Yeah, I'm infinitely more happy with how the Saints have drafted, because last time, it felt like there was a lot of like maybe good individual champions, but there wasn't really that it didn't really seem like it worked together, like it was gonna like connect at the seams. It didn't really seem like it was as jointed of a draft as they would have liked to. So I think a lot better start off. We are gonna see the Aatrox, so another massively popular top laner, plays well into a lot of different matchups, so not super surprising to see that come through as well.
Yeah, and I think Aatrox here, it's a good answer into Maokai specifically. It really dissuades this Maokai from running top lane, but now you've picked up this Trundle as well, which does really well into Maokai. So now you're sort of pigeonholing this Maokai to either a little bit of a losing matchup, or you're putting it support, which I don't think we're going to see here. So
I doubt that.
Curious to see what the next couple of picks are going to be here. I'm curious to see if they pick up the Amumu from the side of St. Clair. Doesn't seem to be the case. They're going to opt in for the Jax versus Aatrox matchup.
Yeah, so going to be a comfort pick for Ricky. He's definitely he's been around the streets on that Jax multiple times. We've seen him have a lot of games where he's able to solo carry, but obviously Aatrox still a very, very tricky matchup. And I am curious what kind of supports we are going to see picked out. We're going to see the Karma ban coming through, so a couple of support bans. Wouldn't be surprised to maybe see a couple more, especially from York. If York doesn't want to go for the Amumu, I wouldn't be surprised to see them try to ban that one out, one of the stronger supports, especially with that Misfortune.
Yeah, the Nautilus actually going to be taken away as well, so taking away some of that engage capability on top of the likes of this Jax, on top of this Maokai. You really want to keep this Misfortune at edge. I mean, realistically, I would have liked to see the Nautilus picked up into it, but the Soraka going to be taken away. They're sort of taking away that Enchanter pool away from the likes of someone like Invent here. Curious to see what else comes through. The Braum taken away as well. These are just some really good bans against the Misfortune, but I mean, realistically, the Braum really good into Misfortune as well. Curious to see why that's banned out, but the Thresh going to come through. This is a Rafa classic.
Yeah, Thresh, we've seen Rafa play Thresh a ton of times, and Thresh has been seeing a little rise in popularity as well. I know he was like maybe considered a little bit weak, but we've seen him a lot in pro play, a lot of games. He's been getting a lot more playtime, and we are going to see the Renata come through for the side of York. So haven't seen, I don't think, too much Renata, at least in the Saints games, but she definitely has a very, very strong place in the game.
Yeah, you know, Renata, Corki going to come through. Renata just a really strong champion at sort of turning the tides of everything. Let's find out what this last pick is. Ooh, actually going to end up being that Akali coming through as well. So overall, I think there's a little bit more variance, a little bit more meta coming through from the side of St. Clair to be able to afford them more agency across this game, to be able to set themselves up for success in a lot of ways. And it's more of a meta comp. And I think, especially now that we've got this Maokai going into the jungle, even with the nerfs that have come through, I still think it's an incredibly strong champion. I think overall we're in for a little bit of a treat here, but we should be headed into game shortly here. Game 2 is going to be a real statement opportunity for St. Clair, especially when they're playing a little bit more towards the meta.
Yeah, I think this is going to play a lot differently from that first matchup. I think, as you said, this is a lot better comp for St. Clair. I think they have a lot more agency, both individually and in team fights. We see the Thresh, you have the hook, able to use the lanterns to pull your teammates back to safety. The Akali, able to, get in, get out, toss those shurikens out, find a lot of damage. I think just a lot better of a comp overall from the side of the Saints, and we are going to see a quick little pause, just 10 seconds, and so hopefully just going to be like a minor PC issue. Another pump fake there, so it'll take a quick second here to get back into the game, but as we mentioned before, I think it's a lot better draft out of the side of the Saints. They have a lot more choice in how they want to set up these fights. Now you can set up the Misfortune or the Bullet Time into a lot of these choke points. Maybe you're set up a little bit better for some of these team fights as well, but I think it's significantly better than their first draft.
It's better for the side lanes as well, because Akali and the Jack's both going to have a little bit more agency in that side lane. I mean, Jack's going to do really well into the Aatrox, especially we know what Ricky's Jax can do. It's a little bit of a menace at times. I think especially the Akali versus the Corki gives you a little bit more variance as well. You have a little bit more adaptation to sort of pop off in these fights. And I think Bakery Boy really sort of feeling themselves after that game 1 where they had a very strong performance on the Corki. It just wasn't enough to make up for the rest of the pitfalls that were sort of coming through from the rest of the squad. And I think that might just be because of a couple of the champion issues. I'm a little bit more the draft issue was just a little bit
we'll call it the draft incident.
The draft incident, we'll call it that. It was just a little bit, it was all over the place in a lot of ways.
I didn't feel like there was any continuity. They kind of just felt like they were either trying to counterpick or just get maybe a little bit too cute in some of these choices as well. But I think we are going to throw it to possibly a very, very quick break as well. The lobby still trying to get back, and somebody maybe had some PC issues or something like that. So a lot better draft from the first half of the Saints here, and we'll get into the start of game 2 here just after the break. Thank you. And we are back in the game. Going to be a quick little pause here, but it will resume in just a few seconds here. This is, typical League client fashion, of course. The second we get back in, Riot going to throw us yet another curveball. Going to be caught swinging and missing at that one, but should be back in just a couple seconds here, as we said. We broke down the drafts. We broke down the ideas, maybe some of the discussions, and now ultimately it's on to the Rift to see which team will be able to take it. St. Clair trying to get back in this series, even things at 1, trying to hold on to that number 2 ranking in York, sitting at 3-1. Currently up 1 game, trying to move up in those rankings and make some noise this year. And now we are finally underway game 2.
Yeah, and you can see just jungle paths both starting on opposite sides of the map here. Interesting to see Alonso opting for this top side. Also want to point out Alonso's runes. Going for Phase Rush on Maokai, a little bit atypical. Normally we see something like an Aftershock coming through or even the Conqueror, but really just trying to go for these quicker trades here on the Maokai. Believe they took Aftershock on the Remus, so it's definitely not like a wrong rune or anything like that. It's just a little bit different. But Rafa, 1-for-1 on these hooks, already going aggressive onto Invent.
Yeah, Invent going to be very low HP. Rafa, as we said, once you get on that Thresh, now I feel like playing the Lulu is great and all, but you're really relying on the AD carry to kind of supplement that lane. You can do a little bit of healing, but having the Thresh, you can be the one to make the first move. And let's say playing into that Amumu last game, I felt like they were kind of waiting for the Amumu to make a jump and then maybe try to decide if the fight was worth it. But now they have the agency to kind of make those choices on their own and land a hook. Oh, just not going to land. That possibly might have been a kill, or at least getting a flash burn, but not going to land.
Yeah, you know, Rafa feeling more confident, I think, on this champion as well.
Sure.
I think it's, as you mentioned, a champion with a little bit more agency, but even on this top side, Ricky going to be on a champion. They have a lot of agency and a lot of comfort on as well. You know, the Ricky Jax is sort of the special at that point, playing these carry top laners, even still looking for these quick trades on to Sweet every single time. We talk about how Aatrox is sort of this meta-defining champion. It is slightly nerfed.
Yes.
Very slightly nerfed. It's about 20% less healing off of your passive auto attack. At the very least, it takes away some of your sustain in lane, but even then, Ricky's still got to be careful of ganks like this from Unawakened.
Yeah, Ricky is going to try to get that stun early. Chains are going to come in, not going to land. Pillar is going to come through. Ricky, not sure if he's going to have to burn the flash. It looks like he might have to. Going to get knocked up twice by the Aatrox. He is going to have to flash away. Flash comes through, and the kill goes through. It is going to be an execute. Sweet chasing Ricky down to this T2 turret. Ricky looking to find the stun here. Is going to stun up, going to walk back to the turret here. Sweet going to try to land either chains or land that Q, but not going to quite find the kill. So Ricky getting away with one there, able to survive, and at least getting a couple sums out of York as well.
Yeah, and even though it's just an execute and there's no gold going back towards the side of Ricky, he's burning so much time on the side of York's jungler. You know, now you're forced to take an unnecessary reset in a lot of ways, and now Ricky just able to sit under this turret and really no kill threat. It's all coming down to that Trundle being there that gives you that kill threat at that. So Sweet not really going to have that agency, especially without the flash. Oh my goodness, aggressive plays.
Yeah, bot side going to have a lot of action. Saint's going to go all in on this bot side. They're going to get the knockup. Renata is going to fall. Their Invent is going to fall, and first blood to Misfortune. That is exactly who you want to get that first blood in the Saints. A magnificently better start than game one.
Yeah, just snap engage. It feels like Rafa flashing forward with the flay back. Alonso there to answer as well. Just such a well-executed play and giving agency over to Rockboom. I mean, we saw what happened at level 1 where Invent was taken down to half. They were forced to burn a potion. They were forced back a little bit. You know, they were playing that lane with effectively 60% HP.
Yeah.
Rafa knows that they can pull the trigger on it, and Alonso, knowing that the Trundle just died top lane, means that you have a little bit more agency to go for this play. You get the timing a little bit better because Unawakened was on the Krugs, but just couldn't find the timing because they were still doing the camp.
Yeah, that was beautiful timing. The Saints realized, and that's what you said about the snap engagement. They realized this is our window to go all in and possibly find this kill. We are going to invest everything we need to get this first blood, get some golden misfortunes, pocket rock from it. It's going to get a lot of damage and lots of trade. Logia getting a little bit too aggressive there, getting ticked down to just about 1 HP there. Rockboom once again. This misfortune in lane, just so oppressive to deal with, and especially when she gets a little bit of gold early. Going to be a Shit here in the Tri-Bush. Invent going to be tagged down to about half HP. Alonso and Rafa working on the two-man game here. They will end up finding yet another kill. Going to go over to Alonso this time. So little jungle ADC action getting going, and they're going to have the first 2 kills 5 minutes in.
And that's a really good timing window as well because, you know, it was Alonso clearing out a camp. It's Rafa sitting in that dragon bush, able to toss over the lantern, then hex flash over. You know you've got those mechanics in tow as soon as they're sort of moving forward with the lantern, so you get as good of a timing as possible. And Invent caught with their pants down a little bit there, just sort of trying to walk up, drop down a ward or two, gets caught out once again. It's a kill going back over to St. Clair. I like this pacing. They've picked up the pace a little bit. Already 1,400 gold in the lead for themselves.
Picked up the pacing. I would say they woke up. They're already a lot more active because in the early game they kind of got so far behind where they couldn't really be proactive. They're being more than that this time. Invent is going to land the stun, but the Saints, they're going to walk right back to this Tri-Bush. They're confident in their ability. Misfortune already got a couple items there. Now they're going to try to walk up, going to keep this bot prio, but the Saints are looking real aggressive. They're trying to find kills at every corner right now.
Yeah, it just seems like every single time they want to push forward the envelope as much as possible. They're really looking to try and be as aggressive as possible on this bottom side. And look at this, Logia already down, you know, about 20 CS. They're really struggling to get anything together. Of note as well, Bakery Boy already hitting level 6 here, but not a whole lot of energy, just trying to push out this lane as much as possible. Seems like Misha already took sort of their recall there and used the teleport to get back, but, you know, Bakery just sticking around here, trying to get as much gold as possible. I want to see what build Bakery Boy goes for, because there's 2 camps. There's Rocket Belt and there's Riftmaker. Riftmaker does well for longer engagements, longer fights. Rocket Belt better for the burst out. And looking at the team comp here, I feel like the bursty build is the way to go. Granted, Bakery Boy's not going to give us any answers because a man of mystery just going to go for the sword shoes.
Yeah, you know, T2 Boots going to pick up the Dark Shield. I suspect he'll probably end up going Rocket Belt, especially how this game started. The Saints look like they want to get in, deal a boatload of damage, and then get out of there at the end. So They're doing a phenomenal job so far getting the early lead. Misfortune obviously gonna have that 1 kill, getting that early CS lead, and so far top lane haven't seen too much action. Ricky kind of been stuck under tower, but I mean that's to come with the Aatrox matchup. Even though Ricky knows Jax and Aatrox extremely well, still a very hard matchup to play into. We're gonna see Unawaken clearing this bot side red buff. Nothing too crazy going to happen for the next few minutes here, but Cloud Dragon is up for either team that wants to go for it.
Yeah, and by the looks of it here, it's just tough pickings for either team to really get any advantage. Granted, St. Clair are already, with that 1,000 gold advantage in their pocket. They're going to be feeling really good about themselves. I feel like what we need to see come forward, though, is to continue this pace of play. They need to continue to push forward the envelope. They need to try and look for these early dragons, because last game, that's what kind of went to their detriment. They lost those early dragons. They weren't able to find any sort of collaborated effort, and it came down to Soul Dragon, where they had a 50-50 the entire game off of that, and unfortunately, 50% of the time, the coin's going to flip tails and you're not going to be able to get what you want. But this time around, it feels like they have a little bit more control over their own destiny.
And it wasn't even a 50, it was like an 80-20 for some of those fights. They were trying in spirit to make it a 50-50, but realistically, they never really had the gold or the items to kind of win that 50-50. Now, they are going to end up taking the first Cloud Dragon, and that was one thing I noticed was the Saints' Achilles heel, even like back into August when they were playing. They seem to just either forget about the objectives or not be in a position where they're set up to fight for them, so it's a very, very bright spot to see them take these early objectives, because they honestly don't do it too often in a lot of their series.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see if they're going to continue to push forward this Soul win condition. Of course, Cloud Mountain going to open us up here. You've got a couple of different angles for how you want to execute the rest of your game plan around that. If you get something like a Hextech Soul here, it's so difficult to escape from a Hextech Soul and someone like Maokai even, because all of a sudden you're clearing out your blue buff. You toss the sapling topside a minute ago, and all of a sudden you've got Palpatine coming over from the opposite side of the map saying, "Hey, I found them. They're over there." All of that sort of stuff. And I mean, of course, there are other runes that will tell you when someone pops your sapling, like Font of Life, actually a really big one, to sort of notify when people go through them. But even then, you just sort of get that Hextech pop, and all of a sudden your saplings are doing 400, 500 damage. You're like, hey, I'm building full tank. I don't really know what's going on here.
Exactly. I don't know what's going on. I'm just here so I won't get fined. We are going to see two-man push topside. They're going to try to block off the tower as well. Rockboom and Rafa can use that lantern to get him back. Aatrox going to land massive damage there. Chains aren't going to hit Rockboom. Is going to flash on there. Might be able to find the kill. Maokai is going to come through. And now the Saints are going to turn this fight. Rockboom going to chip down Sweet. Sweet looks like he's going to fall here. Going to get the Ignite going through. A lot of kills going bot side. Saints trying to find at least one pick out of this. Sweet stuck in the alcove here. He's going to end up falling. They're going to give the kill over to, I wonder, Bakery Boy, or it will be to Bakery Boy. I wasn't sure if Rockboom would be the one to take it there. But the Saints, now 4-man push topside. They're going to try to at least maybe take a plate or two here. Get a little more prio, and they're going to either back off and try to play for this Herald a little bit, or, just try to at least get some pressure on the other lanes now.
Yeah, and Bakery Boy doing a really good job of rotating up. Look at what they lost mid. Nothing. They lost absolutely nothing mid. They shoved out that wave. They found the timing topside.
And Ricky goes bot and holds it.
And Ricky goes bot and picks up a plate at that. So really, really smart rotations coming through from St. Clair. And this time around, York not really expecting the sort of aggressive play. Rockboom, though, going to be in trouble here.
Yeah, the one good thing at Rockboom is actually going to be in a lot of trouble. Pillar is going to come through. He will end up falling, so a little bit too aggressive there. We get a little greedy to get some CS on those last couple waves. Kill is going to go over to, I believe it was the Aatrox there. Yeah, so Sweet. Luckily for the side, at least for Ricky, when he gets back to top lane here, he is going to have both sums, is going to now burn the TP, but no flash for Sweet. So Ricky's going to have a slight advantage here, is going to have that level lead as well. So now Ricky can maybe afford to play a little bit more aggressive in this lane, try to make a couple more plays, knowing that a lot of summoners got burned from York that last fight.
Really, really tough go of it for Rockboom there, because, wasn't able to find that kill onto the Aatrox earlier just because they used their ultimate, I think, to clear out a wave, and then unfortunately gets caught without any friends in the area. Rafa was sort of escorting Bakery Boy back to this mid lane. Of note, though, Bakery Boy already feeling pretty good about themselves. They're even, if not ahead on gold at this point. Even on this bot side, though, Logia forced to burn both summoners. They might not be out of the woods yet, I think. Oh my goodness, they're going aggressive.
Yeah, Alonso is going to flash on, trying to get Logia here, but not going to quite get what he wants. Tower is only going to tank one tower shot there. They are going to maybe send the all three. Bullet time does come through. Going to find some damage on Logia, but not going to quite find the kill. Saints are going to have to back off for the time being. So another close call in the bot lane. The Saints, they're trying to make it happen. Never. Ricky is going to jump in on Sweet there. Renata is going to walk through, and now Ricky's stuck in this 2v1. Invented Sweet should be able to find this kill on Ricky. He's got a lot of ways to get out of here, and it looks like he probably won't. And now Sweet looks like they might find the second kill. Ricky actually is going to be able to escape, so very, very close call, but he is going to get away with his life and not having to burn the flash either.
And the interesting thing, Renata is still level 5, doesn't really have that last little bit of lockdown. An extra second of crowd control there with the Berserk. Even if it's auto attacks going on to Sweet is perfectly fine because you're in an advantageous position there. Nonetheless here, it's starting to even out a little bit. You can see a little bit more gold going back in favor of York here. gameplay is starting to even out, especially in the farm department here. I want to point out, Ricky hasn't really had a chance to farm Logia. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, huge play in the bot lane. Lugia is going to find the kill, just as we said. I believe the Thresh came through. Rockboom going to find the kill and then get the Lantern pulled to safety. They are going to send. Oh, going to try to hook Misha there, but not going to land. Misha going to go all in to try to find Rockboom. Going to take a tower shot. Rafa going to get absolutely deleted by Misha, so it will end up being a 1-for-1 in the bot lane.
It's a big investment from Misha, though, because that's your package. You know, you have to use it at a certain point, but you're not going to be able to use it for this dragon spawning in a minute. You're not going to be able to use it for the next 5 minutes at that. So at the very least, you trade away Rafa's life there, but you're still going to be able to get back on the map, get all your vision down. You're still going to be able to set up for the second dragon. And I think, especially with how St. Clair are playing around this bottom side, especially with the investment that they're putting into Rockboom here, this is looking really good. And it's very much akin to what we said in Game 1, where you need to invest in your bot lane, but your bot lane needs to be self-sufficient in its own right. That is a very good way to do it, with Invent sort of walking around the map. This Renata is still level 5 at 12.5 minutes. It's going to be difficult for them to even get level 6 before this dragon spawns, and at that, you know, even though you're pushing forward on this top side of the map, you're effectively sacking second dragon. You're giving over exactly the win condition that you gave to York, or York is giving away their win condition that they had last game to the side of St. Clair this time around. Granted, first tower going to go down. This is going to give them some more gold in their pockets.
Yeah, they're going to take that T1 tower rift. They're not going to be able to get that second charge. Ricky is going to be there to most likely stop it there. But as you said, the Saints going to set up for Dragon. Bakery Boy trying to sort of play toward this top side. Looks like he might rotate down to the Dragon here, but the Saints should be able to get this Dragon free. They actually will get the second crash. Ricky not going to risk that 3v1. Honestly, probably a good idea. Rift finally going to die out, but I will say York, pretty good use of that Rift Trail. Going to get 2 towers for their trouble. So the Saints, I said the Saints didn't get the Dragon yet either, so they got 2 towers for nothing right now, but he is on it right now.
Yeah, they're working on it. Rockboom's gotten some solo time on his bottom side as well. Rafa just going to try and cut down at least one more of these plates before they're forced to rotate out. I don't think they're going to get this last plate here, especially considering 2 people autoing it. Thresh not really contributing a whole lot to that, and you know, it's they might be able to get it. Actually, the wave's coming, so they should be able to collect this. Logia not really going to reply to this. So yeah, it's going to be a full tower with plates picked up for Rockboom. They're waiting for Rafa to get out of range as well. I still get some of the plates because he autoed it. But nonetheless, it's a dragon at that. So I mean, the pacing going a little bit more in York's favor off of that, but you get a lot more gold onto your Misfortune once again. And I mean, what she can do with a Fortune is quite good despite her name, or her name suggests.
Yeah, definitely one that you want to get. You want to get Misfortune ahead as early as possible. It just hits like an absolute truck later in the game, especially having that bullet time for these team fights, for these choke points. Helps very, very much so to have that ready and online. And let's see a pretty heavy invade from the York side. York in this top side jungle here. They might try to steal this red buff away. Saints are going to keep playing for this bot side a little bit, it looks like. But huge damage is going to go through Rafa. A lot of York members in the Saints jungle on top side right now, but not really any way for them to answer and try to kick them out.
And the map has sort of been split vertically here. You look at where all the control is sitting on the side of York. They picked up 2 towers topside. That's where the control point is. They feel more comfortable pushing up there because there's just a lack of information from Ricky. Ricky did that classic dodge move where you just, move to the left. I don't even think he saw the Aatrox there. I was just like, oh, I'm going to turn this way. There we go. Dodged a skill shot. Second Herald will go the way of York, though, so this is a little bit of a worry because that could guarantee that mid-turn as well, which would start to put some more advantages into York's pocket, but nonetheless, St. Clair still keeping it within striking distance. I want to see some more aggressive plays like what we saw in the bot side in that laning phase, as well as on the top side there with the 4-man push up towards that top side. We need to continue to keep up that pace for the side of St. Clair if they want to continue to push their advantages here, because even now, the gold is basically even. Yeah,
and that's the beauty of having the Rift Trail crash 2 towers, then picking up the second Herald as well. Even though York kind of fell behind in the kills department, they're making up for it elsewhere on the map, able to take some of the Saints' top side camps. Now the Saints going to answer, take some of those bot side camps from York away. So as we said, gold pretty much neck and neck right now. The Saints do have 2 dragons to their name at 15 minutes, so a lot better from an objective perspective, but there's still a lot of work to be done, and say right now to be a little bit of back and forth CS, no objective's going to be up for the time being.
And especially with it being Infernal Soul, I'm very curious to see if York start to put a little bit more focus towards this bottom side of the map. Infernal Soul and the Misfortune is absolutely disgusting. Infernal Soul and the Macaulay is disgusting. Infernal Soul and a Jax is disgusting. You've got so many different ways to sort of play around that objective. And with the 2-dragon lead that you've got for yourself, as we mentioned, Rift Trails are temporary, Soul is permanent. You need
Soul is forever.
Yeah, Soul is forever. You've really got to focus on getting these objectives down, especially on a champion that can use it as well as Aphelios. I think Aphelios, Corki use it even better than how St. Clair's champions can use it. So I'm very curious to see if they start to put some more agency towards this bot side of the map. Of course, Ricky perfectly fine just having this super long lane because Jax has so much mobility to get out with the ward hops and everything. Always going to have that way out, even against someone as scary as Aatrox from Sweet.
Yeah, and Ricky luckily has had a slight lead over the Aatrox the entire game. A little bit of a CS lead, a little bit of a level lead as well, just getting contributing to some of those kills as well. So going to be feeling pretty good on that top side. York has a slight gold advantage here. Both teams trying to posture, either get some vision cleared for these objectives coming up shortly. Ricky maybe try to get some damage in on Sweet. Not going to be too aggressive, you know, trying to be worrisome about either that Renata roaming as we can see, or the jungler, you know, Unawakened coming up once again. Rafa is going to be here though in this bush on the pink ward. Blue ward is going to take him out there. So a little bit, really good idea from Rafa, but Sweet going to read that play.
Yeah, and you just see just sort of fighting for mid control at this point. You've got this Herald in tow. It's about halfway done from Awaken, but Rockboom actually doesn't have a whole lot of mana here to speak of. Might have to get out as a Thresh to escape, but nonetheless, that should be that mid tower going down at some point here. Yeah, that's just going to be forced down by the side of York.
Yeah, all 5 members of York down that mid lane. They're going to have to give that tower. So York doing a very, very good job despite not having the amount of kills they got last game. They're playing the map extremely well, taking what's given. Oh, the hook just not going to land in the recall there. So Rafa trying to make one more play in that mid lane, trying to steal a kill away. But as we said, York is doing a great job playing the macro right now. Just playing the lanes, playing for the Heralds, take the plating, at least try to even up the gold a little bit. So once you can take an even fight, and we see a lot of back and forth. Ricky going to get tagged up by the chains, and Bakery Boy going to get stunned up there, going to get pulled in as well. A lot of damage going to go through. Glacial Augment going to hit him there.
Here comes.
Now, Malkayar is going to come through. Rafa going to try to make a play. Is going to land the Lantern. Oh, Renata R is going to come through as well, though, so not going to be able to quite make the play he wanted. He will end up almost falling. Tanks that last tower shot. Is going to be down to 1 HP to Saints. Got to turn and peel here. The TP is going to come in backside as well, so a lot of, not a whole lot of nothing, but a lot of danger, but no kills going to come through for either side.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting to see the teleport come through from Sweet, but immediately Ricky just says, I don't need to teleport in for this. I know that we're safe on this play. It was a little bit touch and go there. I mean, Rafa going for an aggressive play onto the Renata, but a really good hostile takeover angled to sort of prevent that play from going down. And I think Rafa, by the skin of their teeth, is able to escape that one. You know, maybe gotta think again before you're following that hook through. Nonetheless, it's still overall an okay play for St. Clair. They're still just trying to find their footing in this game, and I mean, as we mentioned from the get-go, York, an incredibly strong team. They're comfortable. They know each other very well. I mean, this bot lane has been playing incredibly well. Even when they're behind, it seems like they're on the same page. And we
are going to see the Infernal Drake coming up in about 8 seconds here. Curious to see who wants to either try to fight for vision control. The Saints are going to immediately posture for this dragon, realizing we can kind of do what York did last game, try to get the soul pointer, although very, very good job by York. Unawakened is going to drop that Rift Herald elsewhere. Try to at least get the distraction, try to take some plates. Big fight in the mid lane, though. The Saints are going to go on and try to find the kill. Unawakened is going to survive with his life. Rift Herald is going to be in that mid lane chunking as well. Looks like Renata did fall before the stopwatch there. Yep. Health timer is going to go down. Rockboom use a bullet time there, maybe by accident, possibly wasting it, but the Saints still on the very positive end here. Rockboom take down to 1 HP, will survive. He will end up taken up by the Aatrox there. Alonzo still trying to hang on. R's going to come through for the Maokai. Saints finding a bunch of kills. Misha's stopwatch goes down. An ace for the Saints in a wildly entertaining fight.
Yeah, it was the Infernal Chains yank back that killed Rockboom. Nothing you can really do about that. The Aatrox was already dead, but nonetheless, incredibly well played from Bakery Boy. We get right into a pause right after that, but nonetheless, Bakery Boy played that really well. I mean, the stopwatch stalled out what the Renata, if the Renata was going to go down, but it seems like everything's okay.
Sweet. Aatrox? Mod check? Maybe this will be the typical Riot pause after the pause.
Yeah, so, the pause after the pause.
Yeah, we'll give it a few seconds there right after, try to get it back into game here. Hopefully, if Sweet was able to reconnect, hopefully no issues there. I'm assuming they're either going to pause till he gets back in, you know, try to remedy that as fast as possible. But really good back and forth so far. You can see York, as we mentioned before, a team, you can tell it's a team that they played together. They understand the macro. If they realize they're kind of down in kills, down in gold, they know how to make it up elsewhere in the map. They've done a really good job of it so far. So both teams just trying to find that edge, though, in that fight. I mean, that was about as close as it gets, especially at the start there.
Exactly. Seems like we're going to get back into it. You know, the classic Riot pause after the pause. It's been in the game for so long that at this point, you know, as casters,
it's a feature.
We're just sort of like, you know, that's a bug in the game. That one, that happens as well. You know, expecting this, but nonetheless. The thing about that fight, though, is that no one got Dragon. So, you know, we might just run it back all over again with even less summoners, with even less ultimates at the end of it. Very curious to see if everything will end up falling that way. Alonzo doesn't have that Nature's Grasp quite up yet, but you can just see how confident now they are moving forward. It's 2 items complete on Misfortune, almost 2 items complete on Bakery Boy. Bakery Boy going the Chad build, just saying, you know what? Rabadons, let's get it.
Yeah, gonna go double rods, gonna have that Dark Steel almost fully stacked up as well. The Saints, they might be able to get this Dragon, barring some kind of 50 play from New York, but the fight is gonna start. Rafa gonna land the hook. This fight is gonna start. Saints should be able to find the kill. Unawakened, he is gonna go down. That Renata ability keeping him alive, though. Alonzo is gonna stay alive. Ricky gonna go on Logia, gonna get tagged up, got a lot of damage in, but Ricky is very deep in that backline. Logia tagged down low 1 HP. Ricky is gonna flash out of there. Now Rafa gonna land yet another hook. Ricky goes back and finds a kill on Invent. Bakery Boy playing on that backside is going to fall. Sweet gonna be to get to find the kill on the Rock Boom as well. So I think it'll be a 2 for 2, all things considered, but no Dragon gone once again. So we might see another run it back in a minute or so.
Yeah, I mean, there is a smite available. Misha's really healthy for this one, so they could just heal up off of it. I mean, Logia with the red gun going to be able to do so. It's a little bit too aggressive coming through from St. Clair, but oh my goodness, they're pushing forward aggressively once again. Ricky
able to get the flash there. We're going to miss. Huge play. Ricky going to get the dodge there. Sweet. Going to be tagged down pretty low. The Saints look like they're more than likely going to give this one, they tried to make that one aggressive play, but yeah, being down this low, Misha having that much HP along the side of Logia, they just have too much health to try to tank that fight. So the Saints are going to give away that Dragon, and we're going to be pretty much dead even in gold and almost even in objectives here. So this game's still on a knife's edge.
Yeah, still on a knife's edge, and I really worry about Bakery Boy's call there. It was sort of chunked out of that fight and then tried to go back in to find the kill into Logia, but Misha was just around the back corner there, able to sort of hold the line for themselves. It's just a little bit of a struggle there at that, because you won that last fight so convincingly. Now this time around it goes back to even, and you give a little bit of gold over to this Corki. We know what this Corki can do when given the tools to succeed, and even then, Sweet Tangerine here, 2 completed items. That's the Seralda's Grudge now complete on the Aatrox, meaning it's so much harder to escape that champion, even more so than before. Now you really got to worry about your backline. You have to keep Rock Boom and Bakery Boy as safe as possible. Rafa, dancing shoes on.
Rafa got to be safe too. Yeah, he's high-stepping over there, able to dodge a couple of the Renata abilities, but still going to posture in this river. Going to wind up that hook a little bit, spool it up, spin it up a little bit. Alonzo is going to be there as well, send the sapling out. Rafa, if I know Rafa, he's looking for a hook somehow, some way in this play. The way he's been playing, they're looking to start the engagements, and they are trying to posture for something here, but not going to find anything quite there. Just going to sit in this river for the time being until Rock Boom able to walk up there. Does have the double buff, so if Invent walks up too far here, Rafa might have some words for him, and it looks like it's at least back off for the time being, and both teams kind of realizing, okay, we had a lot of crazy fights the last minute. Maybe we're going to take a second or two to regroup. Rafa, though, no chill whatsoever.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how these side lanes start to play out. You can see Bakery Boy on the top side, Ricky on the bottom side. No one's entering Bakery quite yet, but Ricky, not really in the safest of spots against Sweet, now going to be in trouble.
Yeah, Ricky definitely not in a good spot. Inferno Chain's going to come through. Damage from all 3 members. Misha looks like he will get the last shot there. Will find the kill under Ricky, get a shutdown as well. So not the kill you wanted to give up, especially over to that Corki who already started to get some items together, already had a little bit of gold in the back pocket. So the Saints kind of slowly edging York back into this game. As we said, the objectives are pretty even. Now the kills are pretty even, and York now again with that slight gold lead. So the Saints have to be very, very careful how they play out these next couple fights.
And as you can see, just aggressively able to push into this, just around this mid lane here. You took down that mid turret, forcing out the ultimate from Alonzo as well. I don't expect a fight to come out of this, but still, it's an investment used. Every single time an ultimate's used, every single time a summoner spell is used, you have to count that as an investment. And Alonzo's just using that to try and back the play off. The Shiralias was used to get out of there as well. Bakery Boy, though, is incredibly strong. We'll see if Sweet opts for this. They don't have the World Ender. Here comes the fight.
Yeah, Bakery Boy is going to try to find the kill on Sweet. This looks like it might be an easy kill for Bakery Boy. Going to get a lot of damage and cut right through Aatrox. No damage, no amount of health sustained can survive that one. Is going to find that kill. Massive kill for Bakery Boy. Going to have the Rabadons now, so I had to use the Rocket Belt there. So now the Saints just going to try to find these picks back and forth. And both teams kind of making some mistakes, kind of getting caught out in these lanes when they probably shouldn't be pushing, especially with the half HP. Ricky wasn't full HP in the bot side push. Then you see Sweet at about half HP, getting a little bit greedy for some CS, also going to get taken out. So both teams kind of showing some holes here, but I'll be curious to see which one will be able to exploit the other's weakness more.
And Bakery Boy now just sort of the king of the side lane right now, forcing a teleport out of Misha. Oh boy, here's a pick.
Yeah, Alonzo and Rafa going to get the 2-man game going. Invent should be falling here momentarily. A lot of damage going to go through. Knock up Rock Boom should be able to find this kill here. Renata going to be stuck in that final chance here, but not going to find it in zombie mode there. Rock Boom is going to find that kill. So once again, try to get Rock Boom as far ahead as possible. Misfortune, as we know, doing a very good job from keeping the Aphelios a lot more grounded than last game. We saw the Aphelios start to run crazy in the early game. This time, going to be the Saints 80 carry putting in a lot of work, but we are going to see the Corki on the other side also putting in a ton of work for York. So really good back and forth. And Misha, yeah, so once again, both teams posturing around this mid area. Next Drake is up in a minute 20 as well.
Something I want to point out, Misha's a full item ahead of Bakery Boy, even though with this Akali being so strong, the Corki on the flip side, just as strong. Granted, items are a little bit cheaper for him. Here's a package coming across, though.
Yeah, lots of damage going to go in. Alonzo going to have to get out of there. Oh! Lantern going to save him. Bakery Boy going to cut right through on Awaken. Basically one-shotting. Bullet time comes through. Going to find 2 kills. Bakery Boy now going to pick up his second there in that fight, and the Saints, they're going to walk away. They're going to get a 25-minute Baron out of this, and that was a beautiful play. And as we said, We said the Corki was a little bit ahead. I'm not so sure after that one, especially as far as the items go.
Yeah, I mean, granted, this isn't the freest of Barons as well. Rafa taking so much damage. Oh my.
Yeah, Rafa gonna have to try to escape this one. He's gonna be pretty key to having this fight. The Saints should be able to take this Baron. Hostile takeover is gonna go through Bakery Boy. He's gonna dive into the enemy line there. Is gonna be able to survive though. Is gonna jump back in though. Not gonna find the kill. Logia gonna find the shutdown. It was a valiant effort. Thresh gonna fall as well. The Saints only gonna have 3 members alive. They are gonna get the Baron for their trouble, but looks like York is not going to back off this push. They're going to try the Misfortune E, able to zone off at least a little bit. Now Misha going to be jumping in on Rockboom and Ricky. Not going to find the kill. Ricky and Rockboom, if they're able to turn, they could find a kill possibly. Rockboom is going to find the kill onto the Ophelio, so the Saints getting a lot more TP. He's going to come in backside there, sweet. That Aatrox's going to be a menace at all. Misha ticking down the Saints. This Baron buff does not want to go to waste. Another TP in for the Saints as well. They're going to invest everything to keep this Baron buff alive. Ricky is going to send in there, try to get the kill on Sweet, try to get some damage at least to keep Rockboom, and I believe it was Rafa or Alonso there is live, yeah. Ricky once again going to be diving in unawakened. Ricky is going to be down to half HP though, so that TP flash through, flashes over into the pit, kills Invent, and then dashes out of the backside of the pit. Beautiful play by Ricky Lafleur to keep the Saints going in this push. Now the Maokai is going to go through. The Saints will die with this Baron buff one way or the other. Rockboom, lots of damage going through, but not going to be able to find the kill, so wow. The Saints keep a couple Baron buffs, but man, York did not let that one go quietly.
Yeah, York didn't let that one go, and I think St. Clair as well, they just kept trying to force that fight over and over again as well. I mean, Alonso had like 4 of their recalls stopped at the last second. Another pause coming through, unfortunately, is seems like everyone's having connection issues this game, but nonetheless, a little bit of a tough situation for the Saints. They get the Baron, they get gold back in their pockets, but at what cost? Yeah. And it's a lot of members going down. I mean, Ricky's able to teleport back in, pick up a kill to clear that one up. Rockboom goes down. Bakery Boy went down in that fight as well. Yeah. Rafa went down on the side as well. I'm pretty sure it's just Alonso with the Baron at that. Yeah. And even then, you know, at least you're taking that away from the side of York. But nonetheless, the kill advantage still, I believe, going over to St. Clair. There's still tangible advantages for them to continue to push off of. And I think that as long as this game continues on at the rate that it's going, we should be still seeing St. Clair in a slight advantage. But nonetheless, it's still always very difficult to tell from this game state because it is still up in the air. Granted, as we get out of the pause here, looking over at our observer screen, looks like they are starting up the Dragon. Typical Riot pause after the pause.
Yeah, it'll be okay. Yeah, it'll be okay in a few seconds there. We'll get back into the game. And as you said, even though the Saints have a slight lead, all it takes is one chalked team fight and immediately York back in the game. Could possibly make it 2-2 on the Drakes, depending how this one's going to play out in a couple seconds. So definitely something to worry about in the Saints. That was the tough part about that Baron play, is they already had the Baron down 90% health. Even though 2 members died, they still committed to getting that Baron, because if you don't want to lose it for nothing, Flash is going to try to steal the Dragon. Unawakened, not going to get the steal, and he's going to get his life taken for his trouble. Crab is going to go the way of the Saints as well, so Unawakened making a very, very risky play. They're trying to coin flip that Dragon and not going to go his way, and that's going to be pretty killer for the side of York.
Ricky got the Dragon.
Did he?
Yeah, Ricky got the Dragon.
All right.
The last auto attack, you know, Jack's the secret jungler apparently at this point, but Unawakened just going a little bit too aggressively. And I mean, this game, you know, how many times the Trundle dies doesn't really matter at this point. You know, 0-5, 0-8, no diff at that point, but nonetheless, it's still an interesting angle for them to contest that. It is, of course, soul point available for St. Clair now, and that Dragon advantage that they got early on into the game definitely paying off dividends, finally able to secure this tier 1 tower with the 1 Baron, but oh my goodness.
Yeah, bullet time comes through, and as you said, the one member with Baron, at least able to get some Baron minions to crash there. Alonso is going to throw the R out there. Logia is going to catch on a Bakery Boy in that side area, and Bakery Boy and Akali, there's nothing scarier than an Akali lurking in a bush with just one-shot capability, waiting, breathing down your neck.
And I mean, Logia there, just even saving the life of Invent there by just blocking up the Maokai ultimate. It's so difficult to survive this game as a Renata as well, because, you know, you're trying to play backline, you're trying to just buff up your carries, but when your carries aren't that strong, you know, you're buffing them up for what? You know, you're buffing them up to die, you're trying to keep them alive for a couple seconds longer. We haven't really seen that bailout be used to the greatest effect. And a lot of that is just because St. Clair have enough damage to kill you once and kill you twice, but Ricky, this is an interesting situation. Unawakened just sort of vibing in the bush and not engaging on that one at all.
Yeah, the Saints are going to get good prio on all 3 waves. So Ricky looks like he might show. The Renata is going to walk up again, and I think that's what you said was exactly perfect. Invent feels like they're trying to make a lot of plays all over the map, and I think that resulted in the level deficit earlier as well. Baker Boy going to get the backstop there, but the Renata knowing that Aphelios isn't really like super online this game, it feels like she's trying to get all around the map and maybe do a little bit too much in spots, although it could end up working out. But as you said, they haven't really found the value from the bailout or the hostile takeover that they're really looking for so far. So trying to get her set up in some way, in some choke point where they can counter the Saints. Especially, we've seen the Saints, they've been setting up that bullet time beautifully. Ricky diving in and out, able to find a couple of kills. So now, once again, going to be an extremely close back and forth. York going to be down about 3k in gold now, so the Saints starting to slowly pull away in that department, but as we said, one team fight could end up changing the world in this game still.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing to keep in mind. This game being so close, you really can't give over any extra advantages one way or the other. I mean, even we've talked about how far behind Logia is. Once they get to 3 items, they're still a 3-item Aphelios.
Yes.
They're still going to be scary. St. Clair, they've got a lead, but how much? 3,000 gold. It's nothing insurmountable at this point. Granted, you've got to keep an eye on Misha here. We talked about how it's been, very back and forth with them. They're going for the Zanya's Hourglass, 4th item here. So it's going to be a little bit more challenging for them to be able to dish out as much damage. It gives them a little bit of extra safety through something like a Bullet Time, but even then, 4 items complete on Rockboo. Bullet Time's not doing a lot of the damage. It's the auto attacks that you've got to worry about from this Misfortune. That's the big change-up with Crit MF versus the old Lethality MF, is that there's so many things you've now got to worry about. I mean, Bakery Boy as well, 3 completed items. It's just all over the place. There's so much damage available from the side of St. Clair, and Ricky is tanky and does a lot of damage. I'm curious to see if there's any resistance coming through from York. Of course, that may be at one of these objectives. Baron in 75 seconds, Dragon in about 1:45.
Yeah, and that will be soul point for the Saints as well. So now York gonna have to make a decision. Early engage though, Rafa gonna get engaged on. Gonna have to flash that. The Maokai is gonna come through. Hostile takeover and retaliation there. Sweet, gonna get tagged down. Lots of HP on the sustained bullet time. Gonna go through. Gonna find decent damage. Enough is gonna find the kill on Unawaken. 5 Saints still kicking. Bakery Boy in and out, slicing and dicing. Gonna take out Logia. Double kill. Gonna take out Invent. And Bakery Boy absolutely cutting through York's defenses there. And the Saints, they should be able to get some objective out of this. They're gonna get some wave push, and that is a massive win as far as fights go.
Yeah, teleport directly down to that bottom lane. This is the most valuable inhibitor if you're looking for something like a Baron. Yes, you've got the package available, but look at where everyone is stanced up here. Rockboom, Rafa, Bakery Boy just sitting in front here. Sweet, dropping down as many tent emojis as you want. It's so difficult to be able to survive that, but here comes Misha. This is going to be your make or break moment. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Ricky not going to die. Rockboom is going to find the inhibitor. They're not going to find the kill. Rockboom, 1 HP, flash, stopwatch. Misha is going to find the kill. Bakery Boy trying to go back in and out. Alonso going to dive in. Bakery Boy going to find the kill yet again. The Saints still on the positive side here, and man, is there anything scarier than a fed Akali on the Rift?
Yeah, it's so scary to deal with, but once again, a very fed Corki on the other side. Alonso,
Alonso maybe going to be a little bit too far in there. Beautiful Lantern Rafa from the clutches of death, going to save his buddy Alonso, and the Saints are going to live to fight another day, and that will still end up being a 2-for-0, and they are going to be beautifully in control of this game now. York going to have to make a couple plays here to get this crown back.
Yeah, and speaking of control, all of these resets coming through actually gives a little bit of Baron control over to the side of York. They're in desperation mode. They're already starting this one up, but Ricky's already at the scene. Bakery Boy is here as well. Perfect executions online, and you don't have that Corki who can really cut through these backline threats. This is a scary situation for this side of York. It's make or break at this Baron.
Bakery Boy, I am waiting for the huge play to come, and he's going to dive in. Going to find lots of damage. All the Saints going to dive in on this Baron. The Maokai are slowly crawling into the pit there. Saints are taking a lot of damage, though. The Saints, triple kill for Alonso. 3 going to get knocked down. Going to be a 4th for Bakery Boy. The Saints completely clapping. Ace, Baron, and they're going to head to the base and try to possibly start to end this game off.
I think Alonso got like a triple kill with a sapling or something.
He did. I don't know what it was, but it was all at once too.
We need like the replay and the files on that one.
Zoom enhance.
Yeah, exactly. Enhance on that one, because that was an interesting situation nonetheless for Alonso to find 3 out of all of it. But once again, Bakery Boy, 20 stacks on the BM book for the record. Got the Medjai Soul Stealer unlocked. This game should be wraps. It's just Misha against the world. Look at the damage coming through from Rockboom. The Saints, they bounce back in a convincing way. Game's not over yet, but they're doing a great job of trying to end it as soon as possible. Yeah, looking a lot cleaner of a game from the Saints. And honestly, I mean, Fed Akali, man, like I said, is there anything scarier to deal with in this entire game? They are going to find Soul as well, so Ricky going to get that Soul as well. So now the Saints, they have full Baron buff. All 5 members, I believe, have the buff. Ricky able to go secure that Infernal Soul. And honestly, if you're York, you have to just find picks. Now Alonso is going to use that R. Perfect timing. Infernal Chain's going to come through. Not going to land, though. Alonso's still trying to run for his life. Might be able to get away. He does have the Blast Cone, so should be able to get away for safety. And as you said, yes, exactly, the Phase Rush. we didn't question it earlier, but we wondered maybe what the usefulness of it was, and see it right there. Alonso is going to clear up these bot side camps now, and the Saints looking to possibly try to shove these waves in, maybe take a recall, and then work on ending this game. Yeah, and I believe we might be able to get a replay actually right now of that Baron play, but the game will actually end before that happens. Is difficult to tell because, with that one Nexus tower down, they're pushing through that bottom lane. They've got 2 inhibitors down. It's basically the defense of the Alamo for the side of York here. They've really got to try everything that they can in their power to try and defend everything as well. And so we should be able to see what this team's able to pull out, because out of all the teams that can come back into it, it would be York. As you can see, the last remnants of this Baron just pushing these waves in. It's just top tower that's the main focus at this point.
Yeah, Rockboom trying to shove this top tower in. Saints are going to possibly posture for the win here. Rockboom going to get pillared out there. Going to be lantern to safety there from the Thresh. Now Ricky going to go take that bot side red buff. The Saints, you can slowly see they're starting to slowly squeeze the grasp on the neck of York here. They're trying to slowly squeeze him out here. Rafa going to go for the hook. Going to land it over the wall. Great job on the stun. They're going to find a lot of damage to Invent. Oh! Not a second hook there. Rafa going to go 2 for 2. A lot of damage to Invent. Is going to walk away with their life though.
Bakery Boy
is going to come through now. Bakery Boy on the backside. The Fed Akali coming in. Turret is going to fall. The Saints, they're looking to end this game and end it quickly. They're going to wrap up on Awaken there. Find the kill. Alonso yet again going to be the recipient there. Going to take out the inhibitor. Bullet time comes through the Saints. Investing everything because they smell the end. Bakery Boy slicing through Misha like hot butter. And going to dive into the Nexus as well. The Saints trying to find a few more picks here, but this Nexus will fall and the Saints will even things up at 2.
Oh my goodness. What a game coming through from everyone there. Everyone was able to, have their own mechanical outplays at that. I mean,
Akali things, man.
Akali things. I mean, at the end of the day, it was a fantastic performance coming through from the side of Bakery Boy, really showing that, hey, they have full grasp on the meta. We questioned it a little bit pre-game when we were saying, do they have the Akali?
That draft told us they might not have.
Yeah.
I mean,
the first draft, we were like, do they have the Akali? Do they have it in the back pocket? Bakery Boy shows up 12-3-6. What a performance coming through, Should have really been 12-2-6 consider. They went into the fountain at the end.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, everyone was able to contribute. They played a little bit more towards the St. Clair style, and I think that really showed that York their highs are high, but the St. Clair highs just seem to be a little bit higher at that, because that game was a masterclass.
And I think, you don't want to take too much just into the draft alone, but you could see the Saints, once they had some agency on some of these champs, Bakery Boy can go make these crazy solo plays, Rockboom, the Thresh, honestly, too. I think they had Rafa being on Thresh, he should be on, I think, the more engaged supports. He's just able to do so much around the map. How many times did we see save Alonso with the Lantern, save Bakery Boy out of trouble, let Bakery Boy dive all the way in, just yoink him back out when the time comes. So I think having characters with a lot more agency, and as we saw, Akali, Thresh, a lot more mechanically demanding champs, but the Saints, they clearly fit the bill to play these champs, and I think you're going to find, that's what you said, the highers are a lot high with these mechanically gifted champs. You can just do so much more.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to consistency. If this St. Clair squad is able to stay as consistent as we've seen against some of their weaker opponents, against the stronger opponents, this will push them further on, because we're getting into October, November, we're starting to get into the conversation of CLOL, and with the current changes coming through, where it's not Swiss, you're put into groups, you want to have St. Clair kind of considered as a pool 1 team, because I'm pretty sure how it works, you're going to be put into pools, you're going to be seeded away. You want to be in a group where you are the favorite. You don't want to be in a group where there's other scary teams in there where you could be a second place or something. You want to be definitively the first place team, and I think especially this performance here, if we can get a carbon copy of that coming through in Game 3, it would be absolutely magical for them to be able to take down a team as strong as York.
I think we're going to see a lot different of pick and bans next game, especially on the York side. They're going to target ban a lot of the same stuff, and I'm not sure if we have the replay quite yet from the earlier game, but we actually do. We're going to show you the replay before we go to the break here, because that fight, there was so much going on. It was honestly hard to keep track of. So we're going to go back and see, how did Alonso actually end up getting 3 players?
Yeah,
I'm still perplexed.
I'm curious to see how this plays out as well. I sort of just want to take a look to see how it actually, how it happens. And here we actually get it. It's going to be, I'm going to try and render that through. That's actually all the replays coming through, but nonetheless, I think.
Yeah, all good. Yeah. We'll go for the replays after. We'll get you guys after the game. We'll see. It'll be on Twitter, on the Saints Gaming Twitter as well after, so you'll catch it. We will find out, how did Alonso get those 3 kills? And with that being said, we are going to throw it to a very, very quick break. Let the boys get back into draft in a few minutes here. And 1-1 series on our hands. York and St. Clair, 2 versus 4, fighting to stay alive here. We'll catch you guys in a few minutes.
Burning so much time on the side of York's jungler. Now you're forced to take an unnecessary reset in a lot of ways, and now Ricky just able to sit under this turret and really no kill threat. It's all coming down to that Trundle being there that gives you that kill threat at that. So Sweet not really going to have that agency, especially without the flash. Oh my goodness, aggressive plays.
Yeah, bot side can have a lot of action. Saints going to go all in on this bot side. They're going to get the knockup. Renata is going to fall. Their invent is going to fall, and first blood to Misfortune. That is exactly who you want to get that first blood in the Saints. Aim Rift Trailed elsewhere. Try to at least get the distraction, try to take some plates. Big fight in the mid lane, though. The Saints are going to go on and try to find the kill. Unawakened is going to survive his life. Rift Herald is going to be in that mid lane chunking as well. Looks like Renata did fall before the stopwatch there. Yep. Health timer is going to go down. Rockboom use a bullet time. They're maybe by accident possibly wasting it, but the Saints still on the very positive end here. Rockboom take down a 1 HP, will survive. He will end up taken up by the Aatrox there. Alonso still trying to hang on. R's going to come through for the Maokai. Saints finding a bunch of kills. Misha's stopwatch goes down. An ace for the...
It is slightly nerfed.
Yes.
Very slightly nerfed. It's about 20% less healing off of your passive auto attack. At the very least, it takes away some of your sustain in lane, but even then, Ricky's still got to be careful of ganks like this from Unawakened.
Yeah, Ricky is going to try to get that stun early. Chains are going to come in, not going to land. Pillar is going to come through. Ricky, not sure if he's going to have to burn the flash. It looks like he might have to. Going to get knocked up twice by the Aatrox. He is going to have to flash away. Turret, flash comes through, and the kill goes through. It is going to be an execute. Sweet, chasing Ricky down to this T2 turret. Ricky looking to find the stun here. Is going to stun up, going to walk back to the turret here. Going to go double rods. Going to have that Dark Seal almost fully stacked up as well. The Saints, they might be able to get this dragon, barring some kind of 50 play from New York, but the fight is going to start. Rafa going to land the hook. This fight is going to start. Saints should be able to find the kill on Awaken. He is going to go down. That Renata ability keeping him alive, though. Alonso is going to stay alive. Ricky going to go on Logia. Going to get tagged up. Got a lot of damage, but Ricky is very deep in that backline. Logia tagged down low 1 HP. Ricky is going to flash out of there. Now Rafa going to land yet another hook. Ricky goes back and finds a kill on Invent. Bakery Boy playing on that backside is going to fall. Sweet going to get to find the kill on the Rock Boom as well. So looks like gonna at least back off for the time being, and both teams kind of realizing, okay, we had a lot of crazy fights the last minute. Maybe we're gonna take a second or two to regroup. Rafa, though, no chill whatsoever.
And I'm curious to see how these side lanes start to play out. You can see Bakery Boy on the top side, Ricky on the bottom side. No one's answering Bakery quite yet, but Ricky, not really in the safest of spots against Sweet, now going to be in trouble.
Yeah, Ricky definitely not in a good spot. Inferno Chain's going to come through. Damage from all three members. Misha looks like he will get the last shot there. Will find the kill under Ricky, get a shutdown as well. So not the kill you wanted to give up.
Mid-turret, forcing out the ultimate from Alonso as well. I don't expect the fight to come out of this, but still, it's an investment used. Every single time an ultimate's used, every single time a summoner spell is used, you have to count that as an investment. And Alonso's just using that to try and back the play off. You know, the Shiralias was used to get out of there as well. Bakery Boy, though, is incredibly strong. We'll see if Sweet opts for this. They don't have the World Ender. Here comes the fight.
Yeah, Bakery Boy is going to try to find the kill on Sweet. This looks like it might be an easy kill for Bakery Boy. Going to get a lot of damage and cut right through Aatrox. No damage, no amount of health sustained could survive that one. Fourth and Misha, yeah. So once again, both teams posturing around this mid area. Next Drake is up in a minute 20 as well.
Something I want to point out, Misha's a full item ahead of Bakery Boy, even though with this Akali being so strong. No, the Corki on the flip side, just as strong. Granted, items are a little bit cheaper for him. Here's a package coming across, though.
Yeah, lots of damage going to go in. Alonso going to have to get out of there. Oh, Lantern going to save him. Bakery Boy going to cut right through on Awaken. Basically one-shotting. Bullet time comes through. Going to find 2 kills. Bakery Boy now going to pick up his second there in that fight in the Saints. They're going to walk away. They're going to get a 25-minute Baron out of this, and that was a backside there. Sweet. That Aatrox can be a menace at all. Misha ticking down the Saints. This Baron buff does not want to go to waste. Another TP in for the Saints as well. They're going to invest everything to keep this Baron buff alive. Ricky is going to send in there, try to get the kill on Sweet, try to get some damage at least to keep Rock Boom, and I believe it was Rafa or Alonso up there alive. Yeah. Ricky once again going to be diving in unawakened. Ricky is going to be down to half HP though, so that TP flash through, flashes over into the pit, kills Invent, and then dashes out of the backside of the pit. Beautiful play by Ricky LaFleur to keep the safe. Was Rafa or Alonso up there alive. Yeah. Ricky once again going to be diving in unawakened. Ricky is going to be down to half HP though, so that TP flash through, flashes over into the pit, kills Invent, and then dashes out of the backside of the pit. Beautiful play by Ricky LaFleur to keep the Saints going in this push. Now the Maokai is going to go through. The Saints will die with this Baron buff one way or the other. Rock Boom, lots of damage going through, but not going to be able to find the kill. So wow. The Saints keep a couple Baron buffs, but man, York did not let that one go quietly.
Yeah, York didn't let that one go in about a minute 45.
Yeah, and that will be soul point for the Saints as well. So now York gonna have to make a decision. Early engage though, Rafa gonna get engaged on. Gonna have to flash out. The Maokai is gonna come through. Hostile takeover and retaliation there. Sweet, gonna get tagged down. Lots of HP on the sustained bullet time. Gonna go through. Gonna find decent damage. Enough is gonna find the kill on Unawakened. 5 Saints still kicking. Bakery Boy in and out, slicing and dicing. Gonna take out Logia. Double kill. Gonna take out Invent. And Bakery Boy absolutely cutting through York's defenses there, and the Saints, they should be able to get some objective.
Yes, you've got the package available, but look at where everyone is stanced up here. Rock Boom, Rafa, Bakery Boy just sitting in front here. Sweet, dropping down as many tent emojis as you want. It's so difficult to be able to survive that, but here comes Misha. This is going to be your make or break moment. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Ricky not going to die. Rock Boom is going to find the inhibitor. They're not going to find the kill. Rock Boom, 1 HP, flash, stopwatch. Misha is going to find the kill. Bakery Boy trying to go back in and out. Alonso going to dive in. Bakery Boy going to find the kill yet again. The Saints still on the positive side here, and man, is there anything scarier than a Fed Akali on the Rift?
Yeah.
Trying to go back in and out. Alonso going to dive in. Bakery Boy going to find the kill yet again. The Saints still on the positive side here, and man, is there anything scarier than a Fed Akali on the Rift?
Yeah, it's so scary to deal with, but once again, a very fed Corki on the other side. Alonso,
Alonso maybe going to be a little bit too far in there. Beautiful Lantern Rafa from the clutches of death, going to save his buddy Alonso, and the Saints are going to live to fight another day, and that will still end up being a 2-for-0, and they are going to be beautifully in control of this game now. York going to have to make a couple plays here to get this crown back.
Yeah, perfect executions
Yep.
online, and you don't have that Corki who can really cut through these backline
Yep.
threats. This is a scary situation for this side of York. It's a make or break at this Baron.
Bakery Boy, I am waiting for the huge play to come, and he's
Here
going to
it
dive in. Going to find lots of damage. All the Saints going to dive in on this Baron. The Maokai are slowly crawling into the pit there. Saints are taking a lot of damage, though. The Saints, triple kill for Alonso.
What?
3 going to get knocked down. Going to be a 4th for Bakery Boy. The Saints completely clapping. Ace, Baron, and they're going to head to the base and try to possibly start to end this game off. A lot of damage to Invent is going to walk away with their life, though.
Bakery Boy.
Maokai is going to come through. Now Bakery Boy on the backside. The Fed Akali coming in. Turret is going to fall to Saints. They're looking to end this game and end it quickly. They're going to wrap up on Awaken there. Find the kill. Alonso yet again going to be the recipient there. Going to take out the inhibitor. Bullet time comes through the Saints. Investing everything because they smell the
Oh!
Bakery Boy slicing through Misha like hot butter. And going to dive into the Nexus as well. The Saints trying to find a few more picks here, but this Nexus will fall and the Saints will even things up at 2.
Side of Ricky, he's burning so much.
And we are back in now after Game 2. St. Clair luckily able to take Game 2 over York University in pretty dramatic fashion. I mean, fed Akali things. Need say anything else. Check the Twitter clips earlier. You'll see what I'm talking about. And now, once again, we're going to be back into the draft. And Saints, once again, kicking Nocturne out of the server right away.
Yeah, getting rid of that champion as quickly as possible. They don't really have any answers for that in a lot of ways. And I think it's better just to take that off the table. Caitlyn, no surprise, getting banned away by York as well. This Jarvan has consistently been a ban. Realistically, St. Clair, I'm expecting the same 3 bans from them. Again, this time around, because it's completely expected in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we're going to see most likely, more of the same picks. Going to see the Victor ban come through. So again, just trying to take out that blind mid lane capability. Try to, stun Misha a little bit. We are going to see the Maokai ban for York. So not super surprising. You leave Maokai open one time and he wreaks havoc all over your team.
Yeah, and especially here now, just going to pick up that Akali first pick. They're going for the jugular in a lot of ways. They really want to push forward that advantage as much as possible. Super excited to see this come through because technically has some flex capabilities, but I think overall Bakery Boy looked really, really good on that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the flex. We are going to see the Vex coming through, so I think that's a very, very good pick into Akali. She has received a ton of buffs the last couple months, so Vex in a very, very strong spot. Lots of range poke, a way to get it engaged with that R especially. So very, very strong champ. We are going to see the Vi coming through. So York looked like they want to dive in and do some damage.
Yeah, it looks like they really want to just get onto this Akali as easily as possible. And Vi, point and click, you're going to knock them up. You're going to be able to stick to them no matter what. The Sejuani, actually a very swift answer here as well. I'm curious to see if this goes top lane. I'm not sure if Ricky has this in the arsenal. It would be a little bit odd, I want to say.
I wouldn't expect it from Ricky. I don't think we've seen any Sedge gameplay. He likes to play a little more flashy champions in that top lane.
But of course, the Renata coming through as well. This is interesting. Sort of a blind takeaway here. Of note, there is a substitution for York here.
Yes.
So Invent out, Drippa coming in. Renata, maybe just sort of we need to keep our backline safe here. We want to have as much disruption as possible, especially now that you've got a Yuumi coming through. You've got a lot of disruption coming through from the side of York, so you want to be able to answer that back with this Sejuani Renata. It's an interesting angle, but I mean, now Akali has those last couple seconds to live and try and finish someone off as well.
Yeah, haven't seen Yuumi in a while, and honestly, I think it's okay for this. I'll let it slide for this one. We haven't seen Yuumi in a little while. It's not getting spam pick banned anymore, so I think it's okay if it goes through. We are going to see the Jax ban coming through for York, so maybe they're going to try to go with that Aatrox. We know the Jax played well into it last time, so maybe they're thinking same kind of line of thinking. I mean, I'm not really sure who else you'd play at top lane. I mean, if Aatrox is open, you take him top lane, and taking out that Jax kind of reinforces that to me.
It takes away comfort away from Ricky as well.
Also true, yeah.
You want to try and get as much of a comfortable matchup as possible here, but the Sivir going to be taken away. We've seen Sivir Yuumi run rampant over Worlds. I mean, Yuumi has started to rise up that presence list as well, so I mean, no surprise there that the Yuumi going to be, you want to take away that Sivir as well. Just so much movement speed, so much healing that you have in your arsenal as well, but next, we'll have to see what the rest of the draft has in store here. Tristana taken off of the table as well. Tristana Renata, not really a traditional combo in the same sense, but you've already got so much dive here with the Akali, with the Sejuani. You just want to try and take away one of the strongest dive AD carries as well.
Yeah, and say sometimes depending on if Vex have been picked or not, you could possibly think about the Triss going mid as well, but obviously not going to be the case when the Vex is there. Vex not really going to be a flex champ as well, so going to see the Tristana ban coming through. We are going to see the Fiora ban on the backside there for the Saints, so going to ban out a couple of top laners there. I'll be curious to see who gets picked up on the docket next.
I'm not surprised at all because it's Aatrox coming through. I think that if you're going to have to blind pick something here, you have to blind pick one of your solo lane here, or you blind pick your AD carry. It's interesting that they're saving AD carry counter pick for last here, but Aatrox just so strong, we know what it can do. But Ricky's got answers to everything, and this Yone has had some incredible performances top lane for Ricky in the past. Technically, you can flex those around too. If you want to put the Akali into the Aatrox, you can just have Bakery Boy on the Akali, go top lane. You can have Ricky go mid lane into this Vex. Granted, I don't think Ricky wants to play into that Vex as much as they want to play into the Aatrox. But now, Aphelios going to come through actually from St. Clair this time. A little bit off the wall, I want to say, in terms of what they have in store. But Aphelios Renata, a very strong combo. You have a lot of ways around that. And of course, very curious.
Zumi is back. Yo! Zumi making a return. What do we think of that one? That's something.
It's an odd pick. I'm going to put it this way. We haven't seen Zeri at Worlds at all. And that's something that not a lot of champions have the distinction of. This, first of all, for reference, World Championships going on for League right now. The highest presence of champions, or highest percentage of presence of champions have come through at this Worlds, and somehow Zeri has dodged all of that.
Which is crazy, because she was the Penta queen for 4 or 5 months, crushing every record in the book.
Exactly. She was able to just dominate the meta for so long. It was pick ban for a long time. There was a build that came up with Trinity Force, you know, Titanic Hydra, and all of that. And as soon as Riot said, you know what, let's pull away from that. Let's give her some more crit agency. They went, okay, we're just going to build Shield Bow, we're going to build Phantom Dancer, and we're going to pick up right where we left off. Now, this champion is in the dirt. It is a terrible champion, but I see a world where it works with the Yuumi just in the same way as Sivir Yuumi works out. It's a scary combination at the best of times. I'm curious to see how it plays out, but once again, it's definitely off the wall here from York, and I think if they are going to win this third game, they need something a little bit off the wall.
No, yeah, and if they're going to win, they're going to have to get this Zeri online and going. If this Zeri falls behind and starts to struggle, it's going to be very, very tricky to catch back up, and that's going to be, honestly, probably going to be their main win condition is playing for that bot lane, because Zeri, as we said, if she's not really popping off and getting those pentas and skating all around that back line, she's dirt. She's kind of a dirt champ at the moment. And it's just because Riot, I mean, she was like so strong. They kind of had no choice but to gut her. But that's what I said. It's a very high risk, high reward. But the risk, I think the high risk is higher than the reward where it is right now. But it's still pretty even keel up there.
I think the main thing that we've got to keep in mind as well is that Aphelios has the Gravitum. And, you know, Zeri is so predicated on having movement speed. Anytime that Gravitum is out, you're going to have trouble here because you can get rooted up, you can get stalled out. And in a lot of ways, this draft from York sort of has a lot of traditional Zeri counters. One of the main things that was a counter to Zeri Yuumi was actually Vi support as an option. Nasus support now being a thing is something you have to dodge as Zeri. So there's so many supports that you have to take away to have Zeri work. In a lot of worlds, the only place you can pick it is R5 because that's the only time where you know, hey, I have all of the information here. I know what my team is bringing to the table. I know that I can play Zeri without getting completely washed out of the game, without being a completely useless champion. The main thing I'm concerned about is how much has Logia played Zeri in the last little bit, because the champion's been so bad for the last 2 months. I mean, I don't know how much they've actually played it and how comfortable they are just pulling it out in a game 3. Yeah,
that's going to be a really, really tricky spot to be in. And I think that's one good thing about at least having the Renata is using the hostile takeover, at least trying to either split the Yuumi in this area or at least try to maybe separate Zeri from the rest of the team and either deal with her on her own or deal with the rest of the team and not really give her the chance to kind of, you know, skate around. Alana, I believe it's the W, that long stretch that gets massive crit damage or whatever. So you're trying to keep that bot lane even keeled here. And honestly, I think the Saints, once again, I really do like their draft again. I think Bakery Boy and the Akali we saw, that's clearly going to be a comfort pick for him. He thrived on it last game. Ricky, we know he's played tons of games on the Yone Sejuani jungle. Super meta right now, just able to tank a lot of things. You have that single champion lockdown as well. So very, very good agency, especially going into something like the Vi where she's also going for that single champion lockdown as well. So very interesting take from both teams and very, very different. And man, I just want to see if this Zeri works. That's my biggest question mark right now.
Yeah, it's a super big question mark in a lot of ways. I think that another thing to keep in mind is you've got Yone Akali as your melee solo lanes alongside this Sejuani. So Sejuani has a lot of gank assist just through auto attacks in that sense. I'm curious to see how Alonso plays this out because it's not a matchup that they've played it's not a jungler that they played too much. They played a lot of these tankier junglers, which is a good angle to see, but I'm very curious to see how it actually pans out in the long run. Especially when you're going up against the Zeri, you know, you got to hit your skill shots as well. If you can hit the move and bullet, then, you know, by all means, you're going to be in good shape, but still going to be a little bit tough.
Yeah, landing skill shots against Zeri is your one-way ticket to just clapping her out of lane and pretty much snowballing the game. But the thing is, those roller skates, man, she's pretty quick. She's really hard to get around on that backline, able to skirt around a lot of things. And I guess because the game is paused, we'll give you guys a quick little look at the schedule for the upcoming week. Just get until we get out of this pause. Give you guys something at least nice to look at until the game gets back on track. So League of Legends versus York, currently happening in Game 3 right now momentarily. We're going to see League of Legends yet again tomorrow at 7 p.m. Varsity against Campbellsville University. Rocket League on Friday, and then Rainbow Six. I believe that's CR6, so that'll be Varsity Rocket League against King's College. We have played them earlier in the year. Probably CR6 against Purdue University, and then 12 p.m. noon Saturday Rocket League CCA Open Qualifier. So a whole weekend full of Rocket League, but all that being said, today is about the Rift, and looks like we are finally back into game here. We will see whose draft prevails in Game 3. Everything on the line for both of these teams right now.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they play this one out. They're sort of getting themselves down to this bottom side of the map. I'm curious to see if that's going to be sort of their angle of approach at the early stages of this one, because, you know, especially when you're going into a Yuumi, you have to be incredibly careful about where everything goes, because, you know, you don't have any level 1 capabilities, but oh boy, 5-man stack here. This could be scary.
I think we saw this the last game. I think we saw a double 5-man stack the last game as well, but the Saints, they are on vision there, so luckily the ward came through for the side of York, so they're going to be akin to this one. They're going to have, Saints going to have to maybe either play for recall here, At least you go for it at least, and if it doesn't work out, we are going to see York, though. We're going to see Unwakened putting some vision in that bot side jungle, so the 5-man not going to work, and they're going to get a little bit of vision on the buff there on the chickens.
Yeah, definitely going to have to keep our eyes on where everyone wants to sort of play it out in terms of exactly what sort of jungle pathing we're going for.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, Alonso started with the sweeper, hasn't swept out either of the wards, which may be a little bit of a concern because they're going to know where the Sejuani is. They saw the 5-stack going bot lane. The Sejuani now not starting on that bottom side of the map means that there is information collected by the side of York, and information is a big deal in this sort of level of play. Now going to go for a little bit of a delayed invade as well, so this is an incredibly ambitious play coming through from the side of Saints. Seems like they've gotten a read on what Unawakened wants to do, and hey, going in for this invade, there's no vision on it. This could work out heavily in their favor. Granted, Ricky going to be a little bit late to lane now.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I think it'll be okay as long as you make sure you get the value out of that top side invade. As long as you're able to get the buff, maybe get one of the other camps, I think it could end up being worth it. Really heavy engaged in the bot side early on. Rafa down to half HP already, so not exactly the start you want. Got to take a pretty massive trade there.
As you can see, actually going to be a little bit of a level 2 gank opportunity on this top side of the map. Ricky sort of starting Alonso off with that red buff suite, completely blind to this. It's so tight every single time. Look at this, fights everywhere.
Early flash going to get burned though from Sweet, so great job. They are going to get the stun. They should find first blood. Ricky is going to get first blood, so flash burned and first blood. Beautiful call, just like you said. Invade that top side, level 2 gank. Get Ricky ahead now, and you get the flash out of Sweet. Ricky had a flash as well, but a 1-for-1 flash plus top side invade. Saints will take that all day long.
And I think the main big brain play behind this is that Rock Boom tried to fake a leash at least on this red buff. It was spotted out by the fact that there was vision, but I think what they assumed was that Alonso and Ricky were doing blue buff. There's no agency to have a level 2 gank when you have blue buff. When you have red buff, yes, that is where you can push your advantages forward. Granted, on the opposite side, Unawakened going to be going in for a little bit of an invade here. This will be spotted out as there is a ward on the Raptors at the very least if Vi opts to go there, but Alonso going to be down a couple of camps here. You're going to have to keep in mind that Vi's most likely invaded their bottom side jungle.
Yeah, those Vi early game invades, usually you come to expect it anyways, but especially, they got vision. She gets her red taking that top line. She's going to try to get some back, especially on her own. And Bakery Boy, you don't want to leave that mid lane to try to stop the invade. You kind of, just kind of let it happen, expecting it to happen, but Vi is going to walk up, maybe looking for that level 2, level 3 gank as well. Not going to maybe find the angle she's looking for right away, but this bot lane, once again, going back and forth with these trades, and that good old Yuumi just trying to keep that Zeri alive for the time being.
Yeah, at the very least, this combo has the addition of whenever Yuumi has the shield on top of the Zeri, she gets 10% movement speed. Just straight up. That's a pretty big stat to have, especially in lane here. Anytime that the Aerie shield comes down as well, it's going to be a little bit of a bonus. And you can see Drippa just doing what they can to make this happen. Unawakened, though, stalking their prey in the bot side of the map. There's not a whole lot of gank set up here from the Zeri Yuumi. That's the main thing that you've got to keep in mind, is that they can't do anything. You have to do everything yourself if you're Unawakened. As you can see, just backing off of the play. But actually, Alonso here, the Wise are going to be able to counter invade on the top side of the map. After the counter invade came through on their bot side, they just go back up and they say, hey, we're going to take these Raptors. I'll leave you with the smallest chicken imaginable. Oh my goodness.
Vi is going to go for the engage early on. Baker Boy is going to have to flash away. Turret, luckily not going to be able to chunk away any of the members of York, so Baker Boy is going to flash. He is going to survive, and once again, this bot lane still kind of getting shoved in a little bit. Rafa, if he had a little more HP, I think those early trades kind of cost the ability for them to kind of shove in and maybe get the trades they're looking for. They're going to be another gank early on. Ricky going to go for the stun on the Sweet there. Going to be a 2-man job. Alonso is going to get the stun there. They should be able to find the kill. Alonso looks like he might be the one to get the kill. Not going to land enough auto, so just not quite enough damage. Everything on cooldown there. But once again, a great showing level 2, and you can clearly see they're playing for this Yone and they're playing for Alonso this game.
Yeah, sort of pulling a little bit of a switch up here. Granted, look at this bot lane play, going aggressive.
Yeah, Rockman going to get Logia very, very low. Yuumi going to come in to save the day there, but despite the HP, Rockman able to tick away from so far away, and that's exactly what the Saints are going to try to do, is get these trades going early on. And just like you said, Zeri Yuumi don't really give you a ton of ability to set up for a gank. They don't really have any engage at all. I was going to say they don't have a lot. They have basically 0 engage, so you really rely on that Vi to come down in that ball lane and really try to make a statement. If not, it's just going to be a back and forth poke battle and see who's ultimately going to decide to make that final move.
Yeah, just a little bit of a tough situation for this bot lane to make any plays happen. The Zeri Yuumi can't make plays, but in reality, with the health bars that Rock Boom and Rafa have right now, they can't really make any plays, so they can't punish the weak points of Zeri Yuumi at that. So, I mean, this bot lane is going to be sort of the focal point of this game, because if Logia is able to pull this off, we'd be like, wow, why aren't people picking up Zeri more often? But at the same time, it's such a difficult lane to pull out. Yeah. It's so difficult to make work, especially considering you've got this sort of fed Yone already on this top side of the map. Being that sort of issue, you're going to have to be very, very careful about where you pick your fights. But get to mid game, if you can get this Zeri, ramped up, if you can get her accelerated, could be a little bit worrisome. And already, look at the CS. I want to talk about that as well, because it's a rather substantial lead coming through for Loja already, so much so that it is negating the first blood goal that they got on the top side of the map.
Yeah, 50 CS at 6 minutes. Zeri doing a very good job of farming. Going to go for those T2 boots first on the longsword, so going to work on that mobility, trying to dodge those Renata skill shots, getting away from Aphelios' different guns there. So you can already see movement speed being heavily invested. They're going to, I mean, that's honestly the best play was there. You can go into a lot of damage or other abilities, but if you have the movement speed, you can ultimately just dodge and land more shots than the other person. You're just playing a numbers game at that point, and that's what they're going to go for. Unawakened is going to be able to take this first Cloud Drag as well.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to try and get that going for them. I mean, Alonso spent a lot of time on this top side of the map trying to set up for Ricky. Whether that is to their benefit or their detriment is the real question, but plus you can see them continuously trying to push that advantage forward. Logia is still going to be ahead a decent amount in farm here, but actually look at this play on the bottom side of the map. Rock Boom.
Lucia going to jump to the wall. The Rock Boom going to get caught out here. Going to be in a very bad spot. Lucia is going to be poking away here, and Gage is going to go through Unawakened. Is going to show up here. Rock Boom going to get a lot of damage on the turn there. Not going to find the kill on Unawakened, and Logia will end up getting the kill. So the kill going over to that Zeri, going to be massive. Counter that with the 13 CS lead she has already. Going to be a very good start for that Zumi bot lane.
Yeah, and going to be negating a lot of farm away from Rock Boom as well. It seems like Rafa was trying to look for a little bit of a roam around the map, but fortunately, you know, that's the angle that Zeri can take. You can just dash over the wall. You had the Vi to back you up there. Rockboom did what they could there, but opted not to burn that flash there. Now a 20 CS lead, a lot of gold going into the Zeri. They're playing this combo perfectly, I want to say. This early game, and you know, Drippa just going to be able to be that pocket cat there, continuously providing heals, providing shields, providing movement speed. It's going to be difficult for the side of St. Clair to have an answer to this. They've got to try and get more advantages on the top side of the map.
Yeah, I'd say that's the thing. You have to either get Ricky super ahead where you can kind of take over the game later on, or you have to start showing a little bit of presence in this bot lane, try to get this Zeri under control, because even with all the nerfs, I would be very scared to see a Zeri that's completely out of control, especially with the Yuumi in the back pocket. And as you said, they've honestly played it pretty perfectly so far. They've been on the winning end of every single trade. They waited for the jungle timing to get that perfectly timed gank, and they're looking just to be in a very good spot right now. So very good start from the bot lane.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the junglers are going to do here, because even then, Unawakened, despite them having a little bit more presence around the map, they also have a farm lead here, and Alonso really just looking for sort of these cheese plays on the top side has sort of given up their own game for that. And now they can see, you know, York has now an 1,000 gold lead here. You've got to keep in mind that you still need to get these levels, you still got to get these abilities, you still need farm, even when you're just playing a tank that's trying to have some presence on the map. Just seems as if St. Clair are letting York play the game for them a little bit too much right now. Yeah. And I worry for what that means as this game progresses. Granted, Rockboom now starting to get a little bit closer in the farm department there. Red-White don't fight. Granted, when you're level 6 on both the AD carry and the support there, you don't really want to fight either if you are Rafa. Yeah, and you don't want to, especially if that Yuumi R comes in, the last thing you want to do is get locked down, especially if the R is going to come through. Not just going to be a little bit out of range there as Rafa, though. He is going to escape. Now Rafa going to get a lot of damage in there. Renata going to try to land the ability as well, but not going to hit home there. So a little bit of back and forth for the Saints, trying to take advantage there. Ricky and land a huge knock-up onto Sweet. Alonso once again hanging out in this top side. Sweet is going to pop the R, try to get away. Going to be stunned up, though, near the alcove. Going to get ticked down a lot of damage, and Ricky is going to find yet another kill. So honestly, the name of the game, the win condition for York is his bot lane, and clearly the Saints are going to try to play for Ricky. Unawakened to try to make another play, is going to target Rockboom under the tower, is going to have to flash out of there. Now he's going to take out Rafa. Unawakened. Rockboom might be able to find the kill on Zeri, 1 HP. Rockboom, the exhaust is going to hit him, but he is going to find the kill. Now Vi got the cat in the back pocket. Rockboom going to flash away. Turret still chunking away on the Yuumi there, taking a few tower shots, and beautiful job by York, honestly, to trade out those tower shots. That could have been a lot worse for them, considering how well they started things off. Yeah, Drippa almost went down there. I think if Rockboom had the Gravitum ability available there, it would have meant 3 kills for that Aphelios. I mean, we can say it was okay at the end of it, but realistically, that was as well as St. Clair could have played it. It was as well as Rockboom could have played it, that they end up getting 1 at the end of it. They get a pretty big kill onto that Zeri, and then all of a sudden you're able to turn this kill advantage into your favor here. 2-for-1, you know, across the map with a 1-for-1 dive on bot side. That's not how you want your dives to go. You want 2-for-0 dives. You want 1-for-0 dives. You don't want to be giving over a kill in return. Yeah, and like we said, and you can clearly see both teams, they kind of know their win condition, as I pointed out. The bot lane for York is going to be the catalyst, and the Saints now realizing, we got to get Ricky ahead, we got to get him going, then he can try to engage on the Zeri, try to get the Yuumi knocked off there, and try to make some kind of, try to get some playmaking ability happen there, and Ricky is going to take this first plate, might be able to get a second one here, actually should be able, possibly going to be able to as well, get some gold in his back pocket. We're going to see Misha roaming topside now, trying to stunt Ricky a little bit here.
Going to see Aatrox go over to the mid lane there to try to tussle with Bakery Boy just a little bit. Bakery Boy did just TP back to that lane as well, though, so trying to catch that CS. And the Saints look like they're maybe setting up for a dive here on the Vex. Ricky going to be the first one. The TP is going to go through Ricky. Going to tag out Vex. Is going to jump in. Huge damage. Ricky going to be tagged down very, very low. Now Sweet going to give chase to the rest of the Saints here. Alonso going to be in the back line here trying to run away. Sweet, get a posture, but not going to give too much chase, realizing there are multiple Saints waiting over there.
Yeah, it was an aggressive play from Misha to try and make that happen, but the 3-man fear fears everyone away. So it's really difficult to try and make that stick. Yes, Ricky takes a lot of damage, but not a whole lot of investment from the side of St. Clair on the way out. I believe that was a flash from Rafa just to get on the right side of that fear so that they weren't, feared back in a tower or anything. But nonetheless, putting a lot of investment onto this top side of the map now from York, and it doesn't really get you a whole lot in return. There's still that Rift Herald that can come down from Alonso, but once again, Rockboom just sort of trying to hold their own. Afelio is not really the tool that you want to have in a 1v2 situation, but whatever farm they're able to pick up is going to be good as Rockboom sort of holding the line for now.
Yeah, and this area up to 110 CS already. So now a 38 CS lead, especially this early in the game. Very substantial. And as we said, the Zeri, despite all the nerfs, if she gets going early on, it could be an absolute nightmare scenario. And the Yuumi gonna sneak out Alonso there. They're gonna dive back into the bush there. So gonna find some damage. Gonna catch on to the Saints play to possibly try to kill her. And honestly, if you're Logia, you have to know the Saints are gonna start to try to focus you. You're getting a little bit ahead here. You have a decent CS lead. You found that early kill as well. So she knows she's gonna be the focus of the Saints. So gonna be playing a little more on high alert, I think, as things fall out here.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what Logia can do to continue this. Of course, Unawakened now sort of lurking on this bottom side of the map, but look at what you're losing elsewhere. Dragon is started up. Rockboom going to have a difficult time just trying to clear out this wave. Howling Projectile not going to land, but look at this. There's so many members on this bottom side of the map. And now Logia a little bit too deep. They're going to have to try and find a way out of this. They're going in for it, actually. Yeah, they are going to go for it. Looks like Ricky is going to have to dive away here. They did send the Rift Herald mid to get that T1 tower very, very low. It looks like, going to be a couple hits away there. Sweet. Going to shove in this top side in the meantime, and both teams kind of getting ready for this dragon fight. Yeah, Rockboom going to try to clear this wave, and then maybe go for the dragon. Unawakened, going to dive into Rockboom. Rockboom in a very, very bad spot. Going to need some teammate help. Going to get a lot of damage on Unawakened, though. Yumiar is going to come through. Drippa is actually going to find the kill. Sejuani's going to be there for the trade. Alonso going to get that one. Logia now trying to back off of Alonso here. They're going to use that Zera Yuumi to run away. Alonso going to be tagged down bad. The Vexar is going to land. Beautiful job by Misha to land and engage. And the second one as well, the reset on the Rafa. Logia will find the kill, so a beautiful play from York, and getting a kill onto the Zeri and the Vex spells a lot of good news for them. And the issue about Renata Ultimate is that it forces Zeri to use her auto attacks, and her auto attacks do no damage because they're treated as spells. They don't do a whole lot. If she's not charged, she's just going to be tickling her teammates there. So really well played for them to play around that bot side. And it was a little bit greedy for them to opt for that dragon to begin with. We saw here, at least, that Logia was behind enemy lines, and it feels as if St. Clair just forgot that the Zeri could have still been there, was able to come from behind, and they set up onto Rockboom, and now, despite the Aphelios having that Gale Force now unlocked, it's still the Zeri with a substantial lead, and you've got to worry, because any champion when they're fed can be so difficult to take down, especially when one that revolves around movement speed is the one that's fed.
Yeah, when you have a Zeri that looks like a Hall of Fame NFL running back, able to get wherever she wants, Ricky going to commit the R, going to get a lot of damage, but he's going to go away. Tower shot. Almost taking him out. Oh, beautiful flash play by Sweet to get the kill on Ricky. Ricky definitely not expecting that. And now Ricky is going to fall. Aatrox getting in the kill department. And as you said, Zeri already going to be on T2 boots. Already going to have the shield bow online at just before 15 minutes here. So York, they're looking very, very strong to start this game off. Not a huge gold lead, but as far as having itemization and having a lot of pressure in these lanes, they're feeling really good about themselves.
Yeah, they're feeling as good as they can at this point in regards to that. Now going to be able to move over towards the second dragon. And this is why it was critical of what St. Clair were going for. They didn't play enough around this bottom side of the map here to keep this Aphelios strong. Yes, you're playing around the top side, but even then it's not quite enough. There is a gold lead up there, about 1,200 gold, but look at what's happening on the bottom side. 1,500 gold between the 80 carries, 1,000 gold between the two supports. It's starting to get a little bit out of hand. You've got to find a way to shut down this Zeri as soon as possible, because as we said, it doesn't really matter how strong or how strong the champion is in the meta. Any champion that gets a whole bunch of gold and is able to have a lead over their opponents is going to be able to dominate, and Logia is doing exactly that. Yeah, and especially as you said, anyone with movement speed like Zeri, where you can just pretty much get in and out of whatever fight you choose as long as you're, channeling your distance properly. Ricky gonna try to go all in again on Sweet. Gonna get a couple tick damage here, land a few autos, gonna land the knockup as well, but is gonna back off and tank the tower shot for his trouble. So really close back and forth. And the problem is, even if Ricky gets super fed, having the Vex with the Everfrost, having the Vi that's able to just kind of grab Ricky and chuck him over a wall or something like that, you can kind of, sometimes you can kind of get Ricky out of the fight. And the way the rest of the game is going, if Ricky's not able to fight the entire time, the Saints are gonna have a very, very hard time breaking through this York team. And that's honestly, they're gonna have to play for that side as well. And having Zeri already at 150 CS at 15. they've just been able to funnel the Zeri so much gold, and now just shifting them towards this mid lane, forcing the map to open up a little bit here. And Bakery Boy, on this first pick of Kali, hasn't really had as much agency to do as much around the map, but oh my goodness, Rafa.
Oh, not going to land. They're going to invest a little bit there, but Sweet, going to be akin to it, is going to get out of there. Not going to have to not say no sums up, so not going to burn anything, but now they're going to back off. They're going to shift to this top side here. Maybe try to play for this second hero there. Looks like York will do that, and I was going to say they should be able to take it, but the Saints look like they're not going to give this one. Rockman is going to walk up. Zeri, without the Yuumi in her back pocket, maybe the time to make the play, but they are going to get over there. They are going to reconnect there. A lot invested. Ricky going to try to land the R there. Yuumi R is going to come through and root Ricky where he stands. Hostile takeover is going to come through. Not really get a ton of value there, so now York just going to reset, maybe try to turn this fight, but ultimately both teams just trying to fight for control of the Herald.
Yeah, and it's difficult for Bakery Boy here as well, taking so much damage against Misha on this bottom side. Losing fights across the map, this isn't a good look for Saints here. They tried to force around this Herald, but I mean, so many ultimates blown for nothing. Just a way out for Unawakened, Logia, and Drippa, and this Zeri Zumi bot lane, as you were talking about. It's starting to get really, really scary for them to deal with, but look at this. Lurk and Prey.
Yeah, Logia is going to get tagged up there. They're going to have to try to find the kill here. It looks like he will be able to escape. Ricky going to go for the knock up there. Is going to get some damage on Logia, but not going to be able to find the kill. Alonzo in a world of trouble right now. He falls to Sweet. York will end up probably taking this Rift Trail, but Sweet, he's in there looking for more Rock Boom. Going to get away for the time being. Is going to back up to the turret here, but the side of York really want to dive this. They want to try to find this kill. They're looking to crash this wave and maybe make a play off of it, but they will end up getting the Rift Trail for their trouble, in the Saints looking pretty worse for wear as far as these first few fights have gone.
Yeah, and I mean, the Zeri's just able to dance around these fights so efficiently every single time, just able to get as much value as possible every single time. And unfortunately, with all those ultimates burned earlier, it's so difficult to keep up with the Zeri now because you don't have lockdown. You don't have any way to keep that champion in place, even throughout all the healing and everything. So once again, York finding an angle and executing on it, and that's making this game so much more difficult. As we can see, 3,500 gold lead for the side of the York Lions here. They're going to continue to push forward their advantage as much as possible here, and Ricky hasn't really had the answers thus far. I think we need to see a little bit more investment towards these solo lanes who performed so well last game. You need to get them ahead here because this game is starting to get incredibly difficult for someone like Rockboom to play just because they don't have as much gold investment as the side of Logia does.
Yeah, now we're going to see that the Phantom Dance are going to go over to this area as well. So getting a lot of items online early. And this is, we mentioned that, I heard you sigh earlier. It's like the Zeri angle, we thought it was dead, but put some gold in this chick's back pocket, and it's still the same old trash that she was running rampant over the Rift with the last few months, especially before the last few updates before Worlds. So already the Zumi bot lane showing a ton of prowess in the Saints. As you said, they have to find some way to get Rock Boom back in this game, because unless they're able to get Rock Boom, get him a couple items, get him back in this game, they're going to have a very, very hard time trying to isolate that Zeri and trying to take her out. So they're going to have their work cut out for them the rest of this game. But there is still a chance, but they're going to have a long road back here.
Yeah, it's so difficult for the side of St. Clair to be able to find lockdown onto it, especially since you don't have anything point and click. You're really predicated on getting... It has to be the Akali that dives into the backline, but thus far, Bakery Boy's just been farming in these side lanes, sort of coping with what Misha's able to put up in terms of resistance. So I think overall, it's just about St. Clair finding their fights. And once again, this soul win condition is going to come into effect because soul point available in 27 seconds. Do St. Clair have the... do they have enough gold to even put up a fight against this? You've got this Akali top lane right now dealing with Sweet. Sweet has the teleport. Bakery Boy has the teleport. Are they going to be able to invest these over to this objective? Are they going to be able to put up a tangible fight here? Bakery Boy doing what they can, but still not healing, even though there's an Aatrox nerf on this patch. Still not doing a lot there.
Yeah, and that's the only problem, too, is Aphelios was going to be one of the keys, because it's really hard to deal with the Vex when you have an Akali and a Yone, because she's just going to poke at you from range, send the fear from far away, able to engage with the R from long distance. And if Aphelios isn't really there on that backline to kind of trim away at the ADC in this Vex, you're going to have to try to face check everything, and that's a very hard thing to do. The Saints going to try to start this fight mid lane. T1 tower is going to fall to the Herald there. Herald's going to fall as well.
Shadow Surge.
Vex going to land the R, not going to fully commit that Awakened. Is going to go for Rafa, though. Yuumi R is going to come through. Aphelios is going to get some damage in. They are going to find the kill. Hostile takeover helping out there. Rock Boom finds the kill on Unawakened, so the Saints finally finding the pick they're looking for, and Misha caught out in a really bad spot there. Caught between a lot of Saints, is going to find a kill for their trouble, but Bakery Boy is going to find that trade there. Now, back in Sweet once again with a beautiful job to find the flash Q, going to find that kill. Now Alonzo running for his life under the tower. Sweet, they're going to collapse onto Ricky. Now Ricky very low, is going to get that shield up just in time though, and York once again, even though they got a member picked early on, able to find it right back.
And the issue is not the fact that, you know, Zeri Yuumi exists, is that Yuumi Aatrox exists in this game. And that's just as strong, if not stronger. This champion is so difficult to lock down. It's so difficult to deal with. That's exactly what we're seeing. You know, even though they're going for a little bit more of that healing style as opposed to the AP build, they're still doing so much work. And, you know, just able to jump on anyone, provide value is insane for this champion. I mean, Yumi's a disgusting champion. Let's be real. It's gross. It's gross.
Game breaking, whatever words you want to use. Still, even after all the nerfs, it doesn't matter. When the mechanics are possibly game breaking, I mean, nerf this, nerf that, but ultimately you see Zeri Yuumi still can dominate given the right circumstances. The Saints not gonna, they maybe are gonna get this dragon. Maybe Alonso gonna go for the 50. Looking like possibly if he has some teammate help, they might go for this one. They're posturing all around the pit. They are gonna go for it, and they are gonna get the steal. Great job to steal the Infernal Drake, but Ricky looks like he will die for his trouble. Everfrost is gonna land. Sweet gonna find yet another kill, and the dragon's nice, but man, this Aatrox and this Zeri are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that is going to spell doom later on if it keeps going this way.
And I mean, Ricky did what they had to do. There needed to be some sort of distraction there. I mean, Alonso's able to go over the wall. They're able to pick it up. They're forced to flash out. It prevents the soul from stacking up as quickly as possible. At the very worst now for St. Clair in this situation, York gets the soul at 31 minutes, which is a little bit more manageable. That's where three and a half items start to come through. You can see Rock Boom now going for a little bit of a different build than what we saw out of Logia in the first couple of games there. They opted for the Lord Dominic's Ricard second item. This is a Bloodthirster angle coming through for the Aphelios. So just trying to stay alive for as long as possible. Give themselves a little bit of a Yuumi shield, so to speak, against the likes of Logia Drepa. But nonetheless, with this substitution coming through from York, it's been an uphill battle. It's been really difficult for Saints to get any sort of footing in this game. Nonetheless, this game is still in the flux a little bit here. You know, 4,000 gold, not a whole lot of objectives taken by the side of St. Clair, but a lot of them are low. There's a lot available for them on the lap. There's a lot of standing gold. And I think that if they can continue this trend, they should be in good shape. Yeah,
the one good thing for York, if you're them, the fact that they have that mid and bot T1 tower down, they're able to at least put a little more pressure on that Dragon Pit once the Infernal Drake comes around yet again. So they're going to have a little bit of a possibly advantage to try to pressure these lanes, play off of these objectives again. We're going to see Zeri just farming away in the mid lane here. Going to walk up river. There is going to be a ward there. She's going to be akin to it. So not going to walk into any unsuspecting Saints there, so not going to be a whole lot going on. A lot of pings going through, a lot of maybe some action happening here. Bakery Boy is going to walk up there, but it'll be more of a vision clearing contest here than I think a fight starting out.
Just trying to get any sort of information around this Baron, because especially when you've got a Zeri, Zeri shreds through objectives so quickly, especially when you've got, you know, the portable health bar with you, the Yuumi there as well, to be able to buff that up. So difficult to deal with. Ricky going for a play on the bot side, though.
Yeah, gonna land the knock-up onto Sweet. Sweet, look how much HP he gets back, though, able to just keep sustaining. Ricky gonna try to chunk through this, though. Gonna land another knock-up, gonna tag him again. Sweet is gonna end up balling. Huge kill from Ricky. Everfrost goes through. Saints are all over the place. Looks like Alonso might end up balling here. It's gonna try to get the knock-up there. They're gonna dive in. Unawakened is gonna go for the dive in on Alonso, try to find the kill. Yuumi gonna land on the slow there. Rock Boom still trying to back off here in the Saints. They are gonna escape with their lives. That was a very, very close to being a very dangerous play.
Yeah, Rafa gets caught out there, and unfortunately the Infernal Ultimate misses onto everyone there, so unfortunately Rock Boom not able to get any sort of value out of that. Trying to defend this tower as much as possible, but look at how much zone control there is. The Zeri Ultra Shock lasers, the Vex just in general, looking for these aggressive plays. Rock Boom, oh my.
Oh, Everfrost is gonna land Alonso in a lot of trouble right now. Gonna be ticked down to 1 HP, Unawakened. Following him, Renata is, the bailout is gonna come through, and the bailout, I think the kill came through. Bakery Boy is actually gonna stay alive there. Now Bakery Boy gonna walk up the top side here. Lugia gonna walk him back into the bush. Misha waiting in the wings though. Bakery Boy is gonna flash out of there. So York trying to get, you know, the thing is, they always try to trade out these kills. They're not afraid to re-engage. They want to try to get that 1-for-1, try to get that 2-for-2, but got a little bit too aggressive diving down the Nexus there, and luckily the Saints able to walk away with that kill, and that bailout saving Alonso. Rafa is going to flash over the wall and engage, though. Misha is going to fall in a heartbeat. Hostile takeover is going to land. Zeri going to get knocked up and go berserk. Going to get tagged by Ricky, but not going to be able to find quite enough there to find the kill, but this is Ricky. This is what we said. The Fed Yone is going to have to be the one to make the plays, and the Saints, they're going to go for the Baron.
Yeah, this is a really good play because they're able to find that shutdown onto Sweet earlier on. It's gold into Ricky's pocket here, and, you know, not even going for the Infinity Edge, going for the Death Stance next. It's down to half already, but this is so scary. Sweet's here as well. Here's a fight.
Huge knockup from Ricky, landing that R left and right. Turret is going to fall. R going to come through. Yuumi are going to go in ultimates galore. Zeri is going to find a couple kills, though, and we've seen this Zeri angle before. Skate around the outside and find a bunch of kills. Vi is going to find the next one, though. Alonso going to get tagged down. Going to be 4 down for the Saints. A Baron over to York, and a long hill back up top if you're St. Clair now. I mean, I always said the Zeri angle alive and well. 4 kills, 8 assists now. 12 out of the 15 kills she's been a part of, and it's just so hard to stop when she gets going. And honestly, as I said, if Ricky dies, this team doesn't really have a lot of juice left to keep that fight going.
Exactly, and I mean, the last person to die there was Alonso. Alonso, you need to be in that front line to sort of try and defend, you know, do what you can, but it was the aggressive play from Ricky that sort of spelled their doom. They tried to find an angle onto Sweet. They're not respecting that Logia would be back in the saddle. They're not respecting that Misha and Unawaken were coming back. The death timer is not that long, you know, at 24 minutes.
Yep.
They didn't quite respect it in the same way that Unawaken didn't respect the death timers on Rafa respawning to save the Sejuani. So I think just a little bit overzealous there, and I think for the side of St. Clair, you gotta just try and stabilize this game out as much as possible here, because already it's starting to go down the well. It's 3.5 items on this Zeri. She is so damn strong.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. The Saints started off pretty far behind early. They kind of got back in that mid game there, but now after those last couple fights, you can really see the difference starting to go through Zeri. Going to be up to 260 CS, going to start getting those items going back and forth here. We're going to see a lot of the side of York just getting a ton of gold in their pocket. They have the Baron now. They're going to be able to play off this Dragon. The Saints, they're going to have to give this Dragon essentially there. I said they're not going to have any choice to contest, and honestly, the Saints are going to have to be very, very selective with how they take these fights, and you're going to have to get Zeri out of there, because if Ricky's not able to tank a few fights and like survive that fight long enough, that Zeri is going to absolutely rip through the Saints.
And I like the option of the death stance, because it does give you survivability here for Ricky. It makes you beefier. It makes you stay alive for longer here, especially when you're going up against something like the Zeri. Okay, she took a tower shot and she still's got that shield on her. Welcome to Zeri Yuumi there.
Yeah. You might not have seen her in a few months for those who are new, but this is a very broken combination not too long ago, and it is rearing its ugly head once again.
It's just so difficult for them to be able to defend this. I mean, the Yuumi 1-0-13. You got to get on top of the Yuumi at that, and I mean, with the lack of Grievous Wounds that have come through, just with the weakness of it as well, you've got the Moral Reminder, which did get buffed. Boy, here comes Ricky, though. Yeah,
Ricky gonna go all in once again, gonna try to get the knockup, gonna get this fight going. Logia gonna get tagged down, Hostile take over as well. Bakery Boy once again gonna cut through Zeri there. They're gonna finally knock out the Zeri angle. Misha's gonna fall as well. Rock Boom finally gonna get another one on the board there. So the Saints, massive play, gonna get a kill onto Rock Boom, a kill onto Bakery Boy, and those are two of the players that you have to start funneling gold and funneling kills into. That's gonna be your only way back in this game outside of Ricky.
And we said it as that, you know, you have to find the kill onto the Zeri here. You have to find a kill onto the Yuumi. Bakery Boy does exactly that. Doesn't quite have enough in the tank to take down the Yuumi as well, but nonetheless, a great pickup there. You get that shutdown gold as well into this Akali, and I think Bakery Boy really going to be that tool to get back into this game. Has done so well in the Akali, considering last game. Looking really good this game as well. Just needs to sort of put the pieces together to continue to make that push forward, because this game is going to come down to the wire, it feels. I mean, Rockboom, I believe, also picked up a kill in that fight. Now up to 2.5 items. You know, once you get Infinity Edge on this guy, be feeling pretty good about themselves as well, but once again, it's so difficult. You've got to be so cognizant of so many different threats. I mean, the Yuumi in and of herself just makes anyone a threat.
Yeah, and she is going to pick up that, the Morel now, try to get the Grievous Wounds going, so going to go a little bit of that anti-heal style, and going to have 10 Darksteel stacks, so going to be onto that Magi sooner than later there, and so far for York, and that's the thing, it's the continuous pressure and the continuous making good plays for the Saints. They have these bursts where they make phenomenal plays, and then they kind of give it back over the next 6-7 minutes, and then they have to make another crazy heroic play where Ricky Ars knocks up 3 or 4 people, just creates a mess of engagement in that bot lane, and the Saints not really going to be able to hold consistently like that, so they're going to have to find some way here, whether it's Dragons or otherwise, to try to get back in this game.
Yeah, basically this game is going to come down to the wire, it feels, you know, especially now that, you know, York have the sole win condition for themselves. Look at the timers on those objectives. 2 seconds separating the Infernal Soul from the Baron as well. Going to be really difficult to contest either of those objectives once again, but you need to try and find some picks if you are the side of St. Clair. You need to try and find a pick maybe 15-20 seconds before these objectives spawn, so that there is the angle for it. But I mean, look at the gold difference between the two 80 carries. It just shows how much they've invested in Logia. Should be completing, I believe they completed an Infinity Edge as well, so they're just dishing out so much damage right now on this champion.
Yeah, good old Zeri angle, and we're going to see a lot of topside pressure. York going to start to slowly crash on these towers now, knowing we have the advantage. St. Clair can't really force a fight with us, and if they do, unless Ricky, the only way the Saints have won these fights is Ricky landing a disgusting combo. They're going to be posted up in the tri-bush here. They're going to engage. Rafa's going to land the grapple there. They're going to shoot some damage over the wall. They're not going to find anything too crazy to ride home about. And the Saints trying to slowly pressure, trying to get this topside vision, because as you said, it's going to be soul point for York and the Baron coming up at the exact same time. So they're going to have to make a decision, or they're going to have to find some way to try to play both sides of the map at once and kind of deal with the Yuumi's area. That's very difficult to try to lock down those champs in those areas.
This Yuumi just jumping around is aggravating. This is just like solo queue all over again. Just listening, seeing the enemy support just like perma-typing because they're playing Yuumi.
They're playing RuneScape on the other monitor.
Exactly. You know, they're playing RuneScape on the other monitor. You know, I don't know, there's literally proof that Yuumi is the easiest champion in the game because someone played Yuumi with their feet and got to plat with it. Like, come on, man.
I know.
This champion's aggravating. Oh.
Yeah, and York, honestly, I mean, hey, it's in the game. Saints didn't ban it away, and that's the dangerous game you play with, having so many like tough supports to play against. You never know when that Zeri Yuumi might get pulled out and might, come back to sticky just one more time for good time's sake. And York doing an excellent job shoving in this top side, trying to get vision in the river. And we're going to have both objectives coming in very, very soon. And honestly, these two objectives, I think, are going to end up deciding the game.
And I think a hidden buff to Yuumi is just the fact that in competitive, when you're coming in with a substitution, the Yuumi player just got to see game 1 and game 2. Got to see everything that St. Clair did. And now you play champion that literally has no mechanics. You get to sit there and you get to shot call for your team. You can put all of your focus on that. It's actually a strategy that Michigan State University pulled out, where they had Argentum just play Yuumi, and they said, you know what, you're a coach, you can shot call, but you don't have to have any mechanic. You can just sit on us and do whatever. Now here comes the fight, though. As we talked about, those two objectives spawning around the same time, it seems like Saints really wanting to prevent the Soul from going down. They've got a little bit of control here, but once again, any sort of control you have can all turn because of what this Zeri is able to do in these long extended fights.
Yeah, something bad is going to happen, I feel like, in a few seconds to one of these teams. Looks like York maybe trying to posture possibly for the Baron. Maybe they are actually going to go for the Soul here. We do a Bakery Boy on that backside, trying to maybe find the angle here. Maybe you're going to dive in there. Not going to dive in, though. Yeah, not going to risk dying early on. If Bakery Boy ends up dying, this fight will be pretty much lost for the Saints. Alonzo going to get the stun there. Going to get the knock on the Aatrox. Hostile takeover. Not going to find much. Ricky is going to get it. Going to get the exhaust. Yumiar is going to come through. Lots of damage. Stopwatch going to be hit. Massive knock-up. Looks like the Saints are actually slowly possibly losing this fight, though. 2 kills go through for York. Zeri finds the 3rd. York is going to clean up that fight. Just Alonzo and Rafa left to their own devices. Going to have to run away here and trying to run away from the Zeri. Not going to be easy, but it's going to be Soul over to York and potentially a Baron play as well.
It was so close as well, but unfortunately the hostile takeover hits no one. I believe the Moonlight Vigil only landed onto 1 member as well. Just so difficult to fight these out when you miss some of those key ultimates. You're not using them as zone control, using them reactively. And that's the issue there. The hostile takeover wasn't used to try and create chaos to start the fight. It was caused in response to the chaos. And now you see Soul picked up. Baron going to be picked up. This odd man advantage is going to be so much to the detriment of St. Clair. And now it's really difficult to fight against this because Zeri's going to back. She's going to buy another full item. It's so difficult to contest with.
I thought we were. It's crazy to watch. I thought we were done with it. I thought we'd seen enough. But Yuumi also 1-0-16. This character just will not die under any circumstance. York Drippa playing it to the best of its possibilities. Say for a substitute coming in playing Yuumi, doing a damn good job so far of nullifying all the Saints what they could do in the bot lane. And say we see the Zumi win condition is alive and run. Now the Aatrox, a little bit of gold in his back pocket as well, able to catch up to Ricky. Vi having a very solid game as well. And we see the mid lane matchup has been pretty back and forth the entire time. Nothing too crazy to write home about, but when the bot lane is that, I mean, it's over. It's a pretty much 100 CS lead at this point.
Yeah, effectively. I mean, you've got so much gold in Logia's pocket. You know, they've been farming 10 CS a minute. They've been just, given all of the gold in the world, now building towards what could be a Lord Dominic's regard. It's going to be 100% crit on the Zeri, so he's just going to be shredding through absolutely anyone. And, Ricky's done what they can. Bakery Boy's done what they can, but it just doesn't feel like it's enough. The gold that they've been infused with just, oh my.
Yeah, and Sweet looks like he's taking Ricky to the cleaners right now. Ricky going to have to R the other way to try to escape, but Sweet is going to give chase. Now we have Vi and Yuumi going to go over the wall there. They are going to locate Ricky. Blast cone not going to be enough. Actually, it will be for the time being, but going to get taken with him unawakened. Going to find the kill. That is a huge kill for York, and they're going to try to get some lane power right now. They're going to shove the bot lane. They're going to send a couple members to that mid lane, and they're going to really give a good shove here, knowing that pretty much the most dangerous player for the Saints right now as far as level and ability is going to be out of the fight.
Yeah, and it's really up to Bakery Boy here to just try and stall out this game. If they're just going to chase down the Akali, at the very least, they're not taking your base, but look at where Sweet Tangerine is right now. Yeah. Sweet just chilling on this bottom side of the map. 3.5 items on the Aatrox. This is why this champion has been so popular. As we said, the nerfs to it, they're kind of nice, cool. It takes away some of your laning power, but it's still such a strong champion as time goes on. Rockwood in trouble.
And then, especially if you have the Yuumi jetting off onto the Aatrox, basically the unkillable raid boss, going to be a very, very hard time to chunk him down. They are going to take this T3 bot tower. Rockwood trying to get some poke damage. The Saints are trying to fight back a little bit here, but you got to choose your fights wisely. This game could very, very well fall if they lose 1 or 2 members here. York might push for the Nexus. Now, Bakery Boy is going to go all in on Sweet, going to try to find some damage. Chains are going to go in. They're not going to land. They actually will land. Bakery Boy going to cut through Aatrox, though. Is going to find that kill. Going to hit the stopwatch. Going to get immediately tagged down the bailout. Not going to be quite enough. Yuumi are going to come through. Saints getting wiped off, it looks like. Vi going to find the kill on the Rock Boom. Ricky diving away to safety. And here comes the Zeri angle running down the Saints toward the Nexus. And honestly, this looks like it'll be the end of the game for York.
Yeah, Logia just There it is. Just how
Ayumi
much
kill
damage.
for good measure, of course.
Yeah, just everything going the way of York this time around. They played around this bot lane
Damn,
extremely
Zumi.
well. We talked about
I
how...
can't believe
I can't believe we
I
just
can,
saw
but I
it,
can't.
yeah.
That's the bad part, right? Like, you think it's good and dead, but ultimately, as we said, you put gold in Zeri and Yumi's back pocket, it's an absolute nightmare scenario. The Saints having to relive the nightmares of a couple months ago. Look what happens when you don't ban the cat.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate at the end of it. I mean, the substitution comes through and it works out
Yep.
so well
Yep.
in their favor. But honestly, great performance from Loja, great
Yep.
performance from York, and maybe coming in with a little bit of vengeance, saying, you know what, you ranked St. Clair higher than us. What do you think you
Yeah.
are? And especially coming off the loss to Ottawa, it's puts this all into the flux now. Who goes where?
Yep.
If they're really fighting for these rankings and everything, it's getting pretty competitive here in Canada, which is
Yep.
great for us to see.
Yep.
St. Clair, they're not too happy about it tonight.
Yeah. Fantastic matchup. Saints going to move to 4-1 now. York also going to move to 4-1 as well. So both teams, very, very strong back and forth battle. See, those rankings, going to see some shifts as far as the rankings go, especially as we gear up toward playoffs in the next couple weeks here. But it's good to see, especially with League. We saw 3 very, very different games with almost similar results in a sense where it was like domination game 1, domination game 2 a different way, and then the adaptation game 3. Adaptation, I guess, just bust out Zumi.
Yeah, just
Bust out Zumi, close your eyes.
Yeah, come through with the substitution as well. It's really good to see that they've got so many players in there. But of course, overall, strong performance from St. Clair,
Yeah.
just not quite enough at the end of the day.
Yeah, and one last housekeeping before we jet off for the night here. I know it's getting late for everybody. It's late for us as well. Take a quick look at the schedule just one more time. We saw it last game as well. As we saw, League of Legends, they fell to York 2-1 today. Going to be League tomorrow. Chance to get that bounce back game against Campbellsville University. Rocket League and CR6 doubleheader. Going to be King's College and Purdue, respectively, in those games. And then CCA Open Saturday, potentially Sunday as well. So lots of action coming up in the next week for you guys. We hope you guys will all tune in for those as well. We had a fantastic time casting League. I know I love casting with Adam, love casting with League, even though, little different, but it's okay. We let it go for the broadcast sake. So we thank you guys all for tuning in so much, and take care and have a fantastic evening.
Top side of the map, Ricky sort of starting Alonso off with that red buff sweep, completely blind to this. It's so tight every single time. Look at this, fights everywhere.
Early flash going to get burned though from Sweet, so great job. They are going to get the stun. They should find first blood. Ricky is going to get first blood, so flash burned and first blood. Beautiful call, just like you said. Invade that top side, level 2 gank. Get Ricky ahead now, and you get the flash out of Sweet. Ricky had a flash as well, but a 1-for-1 flash plus top side invade. Saints will take that all day.
Rafa.
Yeah, and you don't want to, especially if that Yumi R comes in, the last thing you want to do is get locked down, especially if the R is going to come through. Not just going to be a little bit out of range there as Rafa, though. He is going to escape. Now Rafa going to get a lot of damage in there. Renata going to try to land the ability as well, but not going to hit home there. So a little bit of back and forth.